Hello and welcome to another episode of Diplo Strats. I'm CaptainMeme. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And today we're going to be looking at Hellenic Diplomacy, which is a variant. We covered it once before on the channel when Ezio played it, and that video is just called Hellenic Diplomacy. Ezio played it again this time around. So Ezio is going to more or less take the lead on this one. I have not seen the game before, I have no idea what happens in it. In fact, I have no idea what power you're even playing. So would you like to inform us of what that was?
Yeah, so in this game, I am playing Dorians. That's the purple colonial power that's spread out kind of everywhere. I do start with the most centers on the board, which is quite nice, and it's very fun. I like this variant a lot, to be clear. I really enjoyed it last time. Last time I was Scythia, this power up in the corner, and I love how tight the map is. I love how intimate the variant feels, where there's no neutrals that you get for free, everything is contested, and you have to figure stuff out very early, very quickly, which is just a blast.
Yeah.
Last time I dipped my feet in the waters, I dipped my toe in, actually not even my feet, because I was just a regular minor power. There have been some modifications to the map since the last time we've played. There aren't too many, and none of them ended up being too relevant to this game, but there were a couple, so this is not exactly the same, so you can't let your memories go to be complete. Or you can't let your memory from the last one be all of your understanding of this. You have to look at the map again and double check, because I'm sure that our viewers have photographic memory from that game that we played, 9 months ago at this point? And they remember everything exactly, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, something I remember, I think the Dorian in that one was Salt, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Salt also in this game. For viewers who may not know, Salt is a player with quite a heavy reputation for stabbing, but actually stayed as your ally for the entire game that time around, right?
Yeah, last time, absolutely, indeed. He was great, until I ended up stabbing him, which was a wonderful place, and that was the end of the game. As soon as I stabbed him, we all agreed to a draw because it was so earth-shattering.
Yep.
Salt is, in fact, in this game as well. He is Phoenicia, who is another spread-out colonial power. They're not nearly as spread out as Doria. They have this eastern cluster over here of 3 centers, and they have this western cluster of 3 centers, and they have these 2 dots over here that are kind of separate from the rest, but they're at least still in like the western Mediterranean area. So yeah, they're there. Other players that we have played with before, we have King of Prussia as Ionia.
Wow, this was an all-stars game.
This was, I think it was an invitational.
Oh, okay.
But it was just, I don't know, it's the thing and not that many people like this variant, I think, and just the people who do are people that I like playing with a lot, so that made it even more fun. But yeah, so King of Prussia was Ionia. Ionia is the other big colonial power. Like, there's 4, there's Phoenicia, Doria, Achaia, and Ionia. Those are the 4 big ones. But Achaia is a little bit smaller and much more centralized. I mean, they have this one big area and then a tiny cluster of 2 out here. So they're the least crazy. Other notable players, in Carthage, we have Tyler. And there are other players who I've played with before, but I don't think we've mentioned on the channel. And also, there were subs in this game, and I don't necessarily remember if any of these players were original or they just came in at the end. But I know that, let's see other people. So, Illyria was someone that I played with before. Oh no, I have streamer mode enabled, so I can't double check their names on Discord.
You can't see the name.
Discord.
Oh no.
Let me. All right, I'm just saying
You
it's
can't
the same
disable.
mode. Yeah, that's just it. All right. Yeah. So we've got a name that I can't pronounce, but it's Lagans Harasilla. That's Illyria, and then Han dash Shahazashash, someone that I've played with a lot, but I still don't know how to pronounce his name.
He was Netherlands in my Spain Imperial game. So,
yeah.
Yep.
We've seen him around. He's great. He's fun. Egypt was undercooked fish. We played with him before.
Yep, he won the 81 player game.
Akia was someone that I don't think I've played with before. And her Discord name is Neurotypical Experience.
I don't think I know her either.
Yeah, I don't know if but she's around. She's on Diplostrats. On the community, she's just been around. She's been a thing. It was cool. I don't know, but yeah, I think actually I take it back. I subbed into a game with her before, but that was a gunboat game, so I don't think that really counts.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was in Danelaw, where I got eliminated in 01, so that one doesn't really count either. Anyways, whatever. There she is. Okay, I think that's enough player introductions. I've missed a couple people, but it's fine.
So, I was looking at this, right, and I note that in comparison to something like Imperial, where colonial powers are very, very strong off the bat, they get a bunch of easy centers and they build everywhere, right?
Yeah.
This variant, especially Doria, it feels so tenuous, all of your colonies, because there's so many 1.1s, right, that might not pick anything up, and then could just get wiped off the map. How did that affect your thinking going into this, I guess?
So, I didn't have much thinking about strategy going into this game, but I will tell you that because of the nature of this variant, the negotiations were incredibly tense just immediately. As soon as the game starts, everyone is feverishly messaging everyone, trying to figure out if they're going to get any builds in the first year. Because that's the question in this variant. Because nobody is guaranteed anything. Like, just there is no center that is exclusively one power. Like, okay, Kydonia, KYDO, this one here is kind of going to be Dorian's. Like, that one's going to be mine, and there's really not much anyone can do about it. But, like, if I have to commit multiple units to it, then I'm not getting anything else, right? Like, so discussions are really hot really off the bat. And one of the things that happened was that Phoenicia, Ionia, and I, Salt, King of Prussia, and I, basically went through like, hey, how about we just screw with the regionals? Because we're all the big colonials, and we have more units than them, and if we just mess with them, they're not going to build very much, and then they're going to be dead. How is about we do that? Which I said sure, because if they're screwing with regionals, they're not screwing with me. And that was like a big thing that Salt and King of Prussia were mentioning early, which I was on board with, because, hey, why not? I don't exactly follow through with my end of this part of the deal, but this gets overshadowed quite quickly with negotiations between me, Akia, and Ionia. One of my favorite parts of this map is this little region right here. If we just zoom in on Greece, we see that this is very much a three-way clusterfuck. It's just absolutely insane. And we've got 3 starting home centers that all border each other, that can mess with each other. I've got 4 centers around here. Ionia's got 4 centers around here. The 4th one's a little bit out of the way, but it still can touch. Akia's got 3 centers, and if you count these guys, they've got 5. But Bren can mess with Kirk. It's just, there is way too much tension in this area. And you see, in the literal spring phase of this game, I support King of Prussia into this center. Because that's just what can happen. And I bounce Akia in the other 2.
Jeez, so they're getting nothing there and actually going down 1?
Probably, yeah.
That's so brutal. I mean, you said already this variant is really brutal and tense off the start, right? But that's just like That's an Austria getting ganked by everyone in 01 kind of deal.
Yeah. And
even there, Austria would be expected to pick up one.
Yeah, at least you're I mean, yeah, but if you're losing Trieste or whatever, then you might not be building, but... Yeah, here you're right. They're losing, and they are not getting any neutrals. There is no neutral that these units are going to capture. And this was actually... Again, it was crazy diplomacy that happens at the very start of the game. So, obviously, I'd been trying to work with King of Prussia, with Ionia, but I was also trying very hard to work with Achaia. And the negotiations were crazy. There was just a whole lot going on, kind of everywhere, all the time. And in these negotiations, like, as we neared the end of the phase, I had been talking with both of them a ton, and then both of them happened to go silent, like, 35-ish minutes from the end of the phase.
No.
Which is not a good time for people to be silent with you when they've been very active for the entire phase, including right up until then. And so I was feeling sick to my stomach. I know I'm getting exploded. And so I send this message to each of them individually that says, okay, look, I recognize you're working with the other person right now, and that's fine. You can do that. Make whatever deals you guys want. But here are my lines in the sand that if you do X, it's going to be really bad. And I don't think we're going to be able to figure this out after. But please, it's okay, right? And I forget what I said the line in the sand was to Achaia. I think it involved not being in guitar or supporting into Ionia. I think those were the things that I was like, if you do this, it's going to be real ugly. But this convinced Ionia, actually, that Achaia was leaking to me. Because the timing of it. Right, and it was just like, I mean, you wouldn't send that message randomly. Like, obviously, she told you about exactly what we were talking about, and so it made Ionia not want to do the thing. But it also confirmed to me that he was going to try to work with me, and if I hadn't pulled the rabbit out of my hat, I would have been dead. So that wasn't exactly comforting to hear. But, hey, it means that I didn't get ganged up in here in the first phase. Which is awesome. I love it.
So notably, this is something that was very specific to the communications being on Discord, right? On an instant messaging thing. Because you could identify, these two have gone silent, even though it's, you've only got 30 minutes. If that was in a backstabber game, you would be like, oh, that person's just offline or something.
Yeah.
But with instant messaging, if they suddenly vanish at the same moment, they are definitely talking to one another.
Exactly. I've had back and forths with each of them constantly right now. I mean, it's the same thing in face-to-face, right? If you're talking to each of these people, and then you saw them meet at the start of the phase, and then you talk to each one of them separately, and then they meet again before the end of the phase, and, like, you're Germany, and this is England, France, you just sit there and you know that you're in for a rough time, probably. So...
Yeah. There's almost always that means that they're reporting back on what they heard from you, and then getting their best strategy against it, right? Yeah.
Usually that's... I mean, I don't know about usually, but very frequently that's what it means, and especially in the early games, so be careful about it. Pay attention to stuff like that. So this area is going to be the most important part in the early game. The way that I felt about Doria strategically as I spent time looking at the phase was that I really wanted to have some sort of a consolidated area. And I felt like these 5 centers were the best thing to do, and that I could focus on these centers in the, like, southern Aegean and the Mediterranean over here as my consolidated central point. So I really wanted to get Matr, this one, M-A-T-R, because I felt like this was right next to my area, and if Egypt is in it, they're going to be threatening to move into this, the whatever, W-L-I-S and E-L-Y-S for the entire game, and I'm like, let's just not... Let me get this, and let me tell Undercooked Fish explicitly I'm going to be going for this for 2 and supporting myself in, so don't bother going for it. Obviously, that negotiation fell through horribly. Part of keeping this area consolidated, though, was that I was discussing center trades with Achaia and with Ionia, and we were all trying to figure out a good way to be stable in this region. Because obviously, right now, this is never going to work. But we were looking at it, and I'm like, okay, look, Achaia, if you take Kirk and Luke, whatever, okay, these ones, I'm going to pronounce them, and it's going to be bad, but anyways, if you take these two, and I take these two, we're remarkably safe here. You'll also get Kef out of the deal, because if you're in these two, I'm not going to mess with you for Kef. And then I get to be safe around here. You don't have any cores near me right now. And then I won't have any cores near you, so you can have this, and you can push northwest, and I can have these, and I can push east or whatever. So that seemed like a pretty good way to just trade some centers. I also made some similar deal with Ionia, where obviously I sold the same centers.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if that's why they discussed it and decided to work against you.
Well, I mean, Ionia didn't, right? Ionia took NAUP. Right?
Well, he was going to work against you before you came to him saying that it had been leaked, but well, not saying that it had been leaked, but before he thought so.
To be clear, all of my discussions with both of them were, we're going to kill the other person, right? This is not just like a passive, oh, we'll trade centers and like we'll do this. It's no, we're going to trade centers and we're going to attack Ionia, or to Ionia, we're going to trade centers and we're going to attack Achaea. There was no discussion at any point in this game of like a triple alliance between the three of us and we're going to work this out. It was no. We're gonna eat them. They're skib. So
gotcha.
So maybe they did discuss it, and maybe this did turn them off because it made them feel so whatever. But I was just feeling like this is how it's going to happen, right? This is knives out. Let's go. This area was fun, very tense. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to point out as well. So this kind of trading of initial centers is quite common in something like Imperial, but I think it's much more relevant here because, well, it's much more difficult to come to a conclusive agreement in this variant because there's no such thing as coring in this variant, right? Is that still the case in this version?
So there's not explicit coring the way there is in Imperial Diplomacy, but they have like a map painter's dream of coring where if you control all of the land centers adjacent to a territory, you can now build in it. So
okay. That's new.
Yeah, that was a change, and that was a significant change to the variant. So if we look at something like Nax, right? Nax is a weird one because it's a sea/land province, so like boats can move on it and convoy through it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure boats can convoy through it. You know,
I guess we'll see as we go.
I don't know if I ever tried to convoy through it. Either way, it's a land province. You have to have it colored in. So if I have Nax and I own the center, and I own CYCL and DODE, then I can build in Nax.
Okay, so just to be clear here, the concept of owning is that you're the last person to have coloured it in,
yes,
basically.
Yeah. It's again
you're
a map
the last
painter's
person
dream.
to have been there. Yeah. Okay,
and
well that's something I've never
either.
heard of before. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've seen this in other variants as well, and I kind of like it because it means that it's not as simple as just like you click the core button in a province a couple times. It's like you need to actually control the place, and it's a more fluid way of determining if something is a core or not, and that if other people move near it, you lose the core again because it's not like your solid one, whereas once you core something in IMTIP, it's just yours forever. It does have its oddities. I don't know if it's a problem, but there are some places that have only one land border, like this Zank place, where it has only one land border to ESIC. So if you take Zank from ESIC and then get your army back out, you could just build in Zank again.
Okay.
And I think that might be too flexible. And there's a particularly relevant area over here where you have this anti-province that has only 2 land borders. That might be a relevant point later in the game. But like also this...
Okay, so couple things to also check on this. Your starting cores, are they still home centers? Like you can build in them anyway, or do you need to fulfill the same condition?
Yeah, you can build them anyways. Otherwise, building anywhere would be impossible. Oh my god.
Yeah, no. That would be. I mean, it would be an interesting variant, right?
Yeah,
like,
it'd be an interesting variant. You wouldn't have to put any
color
neutrals on the map because no one's ever going to build a center. Actually,
yeah. The other thing is, if your unit moves into a supply center in the spring phase, right, it does not color that supply center. I assume.
Yes,
you have to.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay,
It does
so
color
that's
the
another
land
important
province, though. The non-supply centers do still get colored in spring.
Yes. So, I mean, this is actually awesome. I always used to love painting the map when I used to play on V-Diplomacy and stuff, running around the non-supply centers, which, of course, has no gameplay benefit. I love it having a bit of a gameplay benefit here. That's quite cool.
Yeah, like
Anyway.
I said, it's a map painter's dream, so it's good for that.
Yeah. I will stop
relevant-
derailing your points now.
No, that was a really good one. I like that rule, and it was interesting to think about. This was my first game playing with it, and so I was trying to find ways to abuse it, and I am pretty proud of some of the things that I did. So, other relevant negotiations to start with. So with Illyria, we were pretty fine about things. I was really happy to discover that they were going to bounce with Ionia in CAEG, because it meant that I get to walk into Nex. And like we're talking about, neutrals in this variant are the most important thing ever. Any dot you can get, right? I have 11 units on the board, and I am just frothing at the mouth to get one uncontested. It's great. We still bounce in KALC and Calc. I think I agreed to sell Calc even to them, because despite me needing dots, like, I also want friends. Colchis was very silent again. They were not very active. That's fine. And then I moved into Goad. The map over here is different. Like, it's very different from last time. CPLA doesn't touch TYRA anymore, so Lydia doesn't have a really good attack on Scythia anymore. Oh, I think I might have called them Illyria. This is Lydia, sorry. This is Illyria. And this is Etruscans, and this is whomever else. That's is this Siberia or Spain or whatever? I forget.
But notably, the Scythia, the power you played last time, has no fleets to start the game, right?
Yeah,
so you can still really annoy them by moving your fleets adjacent to their centers.
Yeah, I could just move into Goad and West Black Sea and then say hi. But I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, this is fine. They played Scythia last time, actually. Let's see. There were some major changes to this area. A big one is that TYRA now touches DNIE instead of having this annoying border between this territory going in here, which means that this army can get to the east way faster. And Kalo, this center here, used to have coasts, but then they turned it into a canal province like Kiel. So you can move through it to Azov. So Kalo became much more significant, I think.
Gotcha.
Anyways.
It looks like it's been sold to you here, right, Kalo? No one else is going to be adjacent to it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
But also there's this fleet in Chris, so who knows what I actually gain.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
God, it's so brutal. It's like everything you look at. This was something I was noting in the south, right? You said you wanted to consolidate the area around Crete, which is like these. I was looking at that going, oh, yeah, you've got 3 fleets around there. That's awesome. And then I look slightly to the east and go, oh, hang on.
Yep. And if I take next, I'm leaving roads exposed, right?
Yep.
It's like you're playing diplomacy, right? But everyone is France with the fleet in the English Channel, and you can go and like both of you are fighting over Belgium, and you just have to hope that like in this theoretical universe they go for like a supply center in Holland or something that English Channel theoretically borders. There is no good example in this one, right? Like to compare, but everything is so tense everywhere, and here's where I'm really trying to make deals with Akia. And oops, Akia's an Eastern Med now, and I just supported Ionia into NAUP. Like, oh, God.
Yeah, and just like, I love the fact that in standard diplomacy you would think of a guaranteed center as something like Holland for Germany or whatever. Here you have to think, not only do I need to guarantee getting that center in the first place, Naxos, I have to guarantee no one walks into the center I just came out of at the same time.
Yep, it's great. I love this. And it was fun, and it was a blast. So that was the northeast. Okay, so the west, I have this one tiny colony over in Zaki, and it's just the one daughter, and there's Salt with 3 units around. So my only objective here is to get Salt to not take the dot. That's it. If I can make my way out of this, will be glorious. And I think Salt offers to support me into Kant in the fall.
Oh, nice.
Maybe not. Maybe he offers to let me take E-boost. Maybe he's not going to mess with me taking EBUS. And then he'll support me to Con next year or something. Anyways, I think he's going to let me take EBUS. Because we're still like, okay, despite the craziness that's going on, we can still mess with the regionals in our area, and we can be the dominant players over here. Like, no need to let Carthage or Iberia get big, because that's how we lose the game. They hit their VSCC, and we can't touch them. So that was a big one. Any other very relevant things to start of the map? I appreciated seeing both Scythia and Illyria move and start contesting the Ruse, because I don't want to see any regional solidarity. And then the bounce between Lydia and Colchis was also very nice, because I want to see Lydia under as much pressure as possible so that they are as friendly with me as can be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I
guess the only thing you haven't talked about is your fleet in Sicily.
Fleet in Sicily? Syracuse, yeah.
Well,
I'm going for Melli here. I've agreed with Tyler that he can get TACA and OEA, and so he should leave Melli uncontested. Obviously, the way that he's moved, he can go for TACA and OEA and still bounce me out of Melli. But I don't think trying to go +3 in this variant, trying to double, is a reasonable thing to do or expect. And if you do...
I mean, hey.
Maybe. But it means you're going to be under so much pressure from everyone immediately because, oh my god, look at this lucky son of a gun. You doubled? Are you kidding me? And importantly, Salt is in Western Sahara, so he could try to bounce TACA. So if he goes for Melli, TACA, and OEA, instead of supporting himself into TACA, he might not get it. So he would piss me off and and in fact be down 1, because he knows I'm going for Melli because I told him such. And so you might think, oh, you might be going for HIPN or CNC or whatever, but I'm not. I don't want the Greece chaos to spill out at all. Even just this far. I want to keep as much chaos in here as possible. And I think we talked about this sort of stuff, and Achia might have been okay with me forcing NAUP here, with the expectation that I take Kef in the fall. I forget the exact specifics of these negotiations.
They can't have been okay with you bouncing them out of everywhere, though, surely. You bounce them out of, with both of your fleets, right? At the same time.
Yeah, they're probably not in love with that. I think that's a fair assessment. But, look, man, if they're in Brett and Ionian Sea, aren't they just gonna take Kirk?
Yeah, I mean,
yes. Because they were very much, working against me at the end of the phase, I think with the message they were sending, right? I feel like they were trying to attack me, and so I can say, look, I knew you were trying to attack me. Ionia leaked everything. Look, he's attacking you. I want to work with you. Let's kill him, but I couldn't risk dying in the process or something. I feel like that's what my line was in these negotiations, but I think this was chaotic. And I didn't explode in the process anyways. And yeah, this bounce was in GSIC. Anyways, I think we can go on to look at the next phase, because that's where things really start to get interesting.
Right.
We can see actually start to get interesting. Things have already been very interesting. So yeah, we have a retreat in spring of 01. That's so cool. Or, sorry, what does the year actually start with? 1642?
So I think
no, that's the IFZIP year.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the reason for this is that Imperial Diplomacy has their own bot, right? But they lend it to other variant creators who've also done it in SVGs. You can basically run any SVG on the Imperial Diplomacy bot as long as it has certain requirements. Flair will be able to tell you about them if you need to know.
Yeah, but for all of you variant designers out there who want to have games run of your variants, it makes GMing a lot easier if they can use this, especially for the bigger variants that have hundreds of supply centers. That makes adjudication a huge pain by hand normally. If it works with the bot, it's a lot easier to find players, and I like being able to use the show map function to see my moves on the map. It's great. So yes. I would reach out to Flair and Ellie and Conpope and some other people about it. To all the people who've worked on the bot on the MTIP server, you know who they are. We love them. Bumble also, I think, right? Anyways.
Yes, but it does have some bugs, hence why 1642. That is the Imperial Diplomacy start year.
Yeah, I mean, some bugs, but it gets the job done. But yeah, so we have a retreat. And it retreats to EPIR. Because of course it does. It literally has no other retreats. We were considering getting this army popped, with having Kirk go to EPIR. But I decided bouncing Ionian was safer and more important for me than just getting the army popped. But like, we were discussing popping an army in the first phase of the game, man. It's crazy. I love this variant. Yeah. Okay, but let's go to see moves in the fall, so you can really like get a somewhat of a sense of where our loyalties lie.
Oh my god, you did it! You took Kef.
Yeah, of course I took Kef. Probably.
Just immediately stab King of Prussia.
Well...
Oh, but you didn't take Zank at the same time? Sicily, I really wanted you to snipe his Sicily DOS if you were going to do this.
No. Because I think he might have even been okay with me taking Kef. Because we're doing all of these center traits, right? All of these swapping dots around. And so I supported him against Ionia. He already got the Delphi and NAUP. And so it's fair for me to also go +1, right? He's going +2. Now we both go +1 in the region, and we mess with Achaia. And now I'm in Kef and Ionia, so I can mess with Mega and stuff, and everything's looking fine. I think this was literally agreed. I think he's fine. And so I was worried about NAUP tapping LEUK, because I think this C border doesn't stop this. I'm pretty sure this fleet can move here.
Yep.
And so... I like Denmark, right? This is Denmark, this is Berlin, this is Kiel. So fleets can move from one to the other. And I was worried about him bouncing or him tapping LEUK, but he held with it instead, which I think shows that this was agreed. To anyone who is looking closely, at least.
Yep. I'm honestly just incredulous that you managed to get Achaia, is it? The light blue power, not to take Rhodes.
Not to take Rhodes.
So where you took
this one.
on the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, over there. This is after you dislodged them from
NAUP.
starting center.
Yeah, but see, Ionia was the one who really stabbed him, right? They stabbed me, and so I fought back. But then Ionia, who they were working with, leaked their plans evidently, because that's how I knew what was going on. Right? Again, sick guess. And then attacked them too, right? I wasn't the only one. And if you look at the things here, right? If you know that there's going to be this bounce over an MATR, then Rhodes versus ITAN, right? This just denies me a build and makes me more angry at you. And so, like, I'm still flexible in the region, I think. Right? Yeah, I've supported Ionia. I've supported Achaia into Ionia. But here I'm dotting Ionia, so I'm very much, like, not locked in on either side yet. And if she takes Rhodes, she can expect Army and Cori, Army and Sparta. I'm already in Ionian. Like, she's going to be in the fight for the life for PATR and Mega. And maybe she's not even going to get Kirk anymore, right? Like, it very much shows your cards. This was not agreed. We're going to fight, right? Kef was agreed. I didn't take Zank, right? Because that would be a stab. But Kef was an agreed thought. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's why I didn't go for Zank, because we didn't agree on it. And then he took Enna, and, like, look, in Sicily, there were 3 units, there were 3 neutrals-ish, if you count Nelly, and we got all of them in the first phase, and nobody got dotted. Look at that coordination, man. Clean.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Between me, Salt, and King of Prussia. Who'd have guessed that we were able to figure stuff out at the start?
Oh, nice. Here as well.
Yeah,
Although I don't know why Salt let them into Con. I guess so they could get a build.
Yeah, he builds an anti and can support himself in.
Again. Yeah.
Also threatens Gaul. Right, Army in Hispania is so annoying. Although notably, Hispania is weird. It's actually a fleet in Hispania borders Gaul. Actually, look at the way. Point is, Hispania is a very useful province for an army because it borders a ton of centers. And is really good strategically. So, good place to be. He can still build an anti. He can still force cons. And we can do stuff. So, this phase went perfectly. Right? Everything went great except for this. God, I love this variant.
It can't go perfectly everywhere.
It can't go perfectly everywhere. And hey, look, I got a center, so it was neutral. This really wasn't bad, but it's just so annoying to never get to build.
Yeah. It's like because they snipe your core. In order to build there, you then have to go take your core back and then leave again the next year, so you can put it back. Either that, or paint the provinces next to Kalo.
Yeah, or occupy DNIE and Crimea with my one fleet.
Yep.
Yeah, and DNIE obviously we couldn't let Scythia color it back, which is brutal. I'm really sad to see this army in Yeli hold, by the way. I was hoping it would be able to get into KUBN, but there was tension between Scythia and Ionia. So that was tough.
Yep.
Okay.
I know Scythia didn't trust you either, right?
Yeah, because I said I was going to demilitarize Goad.
Oh.
What's he going to do about it? Like, I mean, he's got no fleets, man.
Yeah, I mean, fair, and it covers it up, so it means he can't build another fleet.
Yeah,
although
he
only has one build anyway, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, so Odessa is... He's only got one build anyway, so... the cover-up doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he agreed to build an army, which is very fun. Hey, it makes sense to me. The fleet in ODES is very hostile to me. If he builds a fleet here, it's never getting into the Western Black Sea. It's going to get bounced forever. It's never moving. So I think the army is a very reasonable call here because it's so inflexible. Whereas Fleet Tira could get into one of the two. But we talked about it, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to hurt you. He was pissed on me being into Goad. And I said, yeah, well, tough, essentially.
Your move from Byzantium into the Strait of Marmaros.
Yes.
Marmaros, is it called? It's something like that. Is that not going to annoy King of Prussia? Because looking at that, it looks like the only way it's then going to go is towards his coast of Greece.
Or it's because I'm going to build a fleet in Byzantium and then take Kalk.
Oh, yeah.
Because you notice that Lydia got only one build from Kalk.
Eesh.
So this is part of the whole, us colonials are going to go and beat up the regionals. Lydia was a target of that. And I think they wanted me to bounce in Kalk. But I was like, I wanted to build 2 units in here because then I can force Kalk. And they were accepting of this as a pitch because, it's better than keeping a dot neutral, me taking the dot. And I don't think anyone expected me to not take this dot next phase. I think everyone's like, oh, that makes sense. Good job. Well
it's
done,
a dot
Ezio.
you see. A dot Ezio sees is a dot Ezio takes.
Really, exactly. So it was... I think everyone looked at that and kind of rolled their eyes and said, okay, whatever, dude.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's why he wasn't pissed about it being in Marm. Because, it borders NAEG, but it also is just, Western Black Sea, it's going to piss him off too much. And he is going to potentially build a fleet so it can get cut and stuff, whereas the fleet Marm is very safe and secure. So, that's fine. But yeah, so I get Kaido, I bounce in MATR, which is sad. Egypt, Undercooked Fish, does take Gaza, but loses Rosa.
Ouch.
Man.
I mean, that's great for you, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's the nuts. It's like, well, you shouldn't have bounced me in Matter, man. I told him exactly what was happening, because this was very agreed upon. And I said, look, you should just let me take Matter and cover Rosa, and you'll be fine. But obviously he had a bet that Akia wouldn't do this, that Akia would go for Eton and Rhodes. And just like me, I made the bet that wasn't going to happen, and he made the same bet, but he lost the center.
Yeah. I mean, as Egypt, I would have made the same bet, because you stabbed Akia in 01, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got away with murdering. It's a one-daughter, man. We got so many centers, and it wasn't my fault. It was Ionia's fault.
Oh, I was wondering what that line on the side of the screen was back in the scoreboard. It's an arrow?
It's just an arrow. Yeah, it's
okay,
just...
fine.
Don't worry about it, okay? The GMs were figuring stuff out, and it was great. We loved the GMs. This was a thing. I don't know why they put it there. But I think it's there for a fair bit. I remember. Maybe it was just the start. Anyways.
So this has actually gone incredibly well for you everywhere.
Yeah.
Apart from
apart from losing share. But everything else was everything I could hope for. When we were talking about how you like don't get any builds in this variant, I say that in a game where I go plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Only plus 4?
Melee as well, right?
Melee 5. I feel like I'm missing something. We can see stuff, but yeah, plus 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's what the board looks like. So yeah, that's great. I got 50% growth. Hell yes. Right. Just we've been playing so much Imp Dip recently, right? In the game of Imp Dip, if you only grow with half of your units in the first year, you are marked for death. Your negotiations have failed so miserably that everyone is gonna try to kill you. Because that's the only way you only go plus half, right? In our game of Russia, right? Didn't we go plus 5? Something like that.
I feel like we did pretty well in the first year.
Exactly, right? Anyways, point is, I went plus 5 and I'm ecstatic. I am so happy to have gotten 5 builds. Unfortunately for the maps back here, I didn't have a good map to show the new builds. But
that's fine. We can talk about the moves on the next turn anyway.
Yeah, basically, I build kind of a lot, kind of everywhere, except down here. But I reinforced Saki because I got to put a fleet down over there. I put stuff down in the core area, except for Kirk.
I mean, this was what was standing out to me. Nothing in Kirk, nothing in Luke, right?
Yeah. Because I've sold both of these dots, remember? I've sold these dots to Ionia, and I've sold these dots to Akia.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not mine, I think. Probably.
Fair enough.
And so me building in them to reinforce them tips off both of them, but I'm going to try to hold on to these, and I really don't want to do that. So, nope, that's fine. That's great. But yeah, so Fleet, Byzantium, obviously, right, as discussed, we can go for Calc, or we just go Marm into NAEG. And what I notice here is that the biggest move is that King of Prussia waived Athens.
Ooh, that's a very risky move with Ezio next to you.
Oh, man!
Oh, boy.
My dot sensors started screaming at me, saying, wait a minute. Hold the phone, everybody. I see 3 dots. And you know what's more than 1 dot? 3. And I have a major rival over here that, I think I can just kind of kill. Because if I get into CAEG and NAEG and Athens, I just take CHAL and Delphi.
Yep. Well, that's...
There he goes.
You will be taking everything with fleets, and he does have some armies, so he can annoy you a bit. But actually, no, fleets can reach everywhere in that area pretty easily, right?
Pretty easily, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
We still gotta see whether you go through with it, I suppose, but I can't see why you wouldn't.
This was a big temptation, right here. And yeah, waving builds. God, I should have learned from this.
Wait, did he actually like wave?
No, I don't think so. I think he just built it elsewhere.
Okay.
I don't think he literally waved. It's just
here. Yeah, because I was gonna say in this
variant,
waving builds in standard is bad enough. Waving them in this variant is insane.
Yeah, no, the waving here doesn't seem like a thing you can do, but it also doesn't seem like a thing you can do with the hostile Italy. But anyways.
We're not talking about that game yet. We'll get to that later.
God damn it. Anyways, I'm never going to put that down. I'm going to be embarrassed about that moment for literally the rest of my life. Okay,
yep, but let's talk about it more.
We'll talk about that later, yes. Okay, so, important things. So for agreements, I'm still solid with Phoenicia. I want Phoenicia Salt to be strong. I want him to look at these 2 army builds. They're gorgeous. Because they're going to go push up north, and I'm still dreaming of like re-getting Share and conquering all of the Black Sea and stuff. Long-term dreams, I know, but we can dream. And so we want these armies to push north and to mess with Colchis and keep Lydia occupied. So I want them to be fighting over all of these thoughts in Eastern Asia Minor. That's wonderful. Obviously, Scythia built this army, which I say obviously, but I've noticed that this is a huge build. It means that they're not coming into the Black Sea, they're not going to mess with my stuff, and that they're just going to go fight with Illyria, which is awesome and wonderful. And then for Akia, you'll notice Akia didn't build in PATR or in Mega this phase. Because she's agreed to sell them to me, the same way that I've agreed to sell Kirk and Luke to her. So, we didn't build in our places, and it's a fair trade.
Yeah, that's a surprisingly, empty Greece, all things considered.
It's
amazing.
amazing.
It still looks packed, right? But it's like everyone decided not to build there.
Yeah, this could have been this could have been so much denser, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 builds that did not get built in the area, in just here. But no, we figured it out. It was great.
Yeah. When you say you can stab King of Prussia here, right?
Yeah.
Is your alliance with Salt still tied into the alliance with King of Prussia?
Absolutely.
Are you
not.
talking as a 3?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I made any 3-person chat. Maybe that's not true. But my alliance with Salt is absolutely not tied to my alliance with King of Prussia. See, both of us understand that when you tie yourself into a 3-person alliance, things can get tough. Because dots, and I don't know, it's a thing. So 3-person alliances are often tough to stick around, and so they happen that you could be forced into them, right? There can be situations, especially these bigger variants with many more people, where you can make stuff happen. But look, if Salt stabbed King of Prussia, I wasn't going to be pissed at Salt. It's like, hey, that wasn't me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Right? And similarly, if King of Prussia stabs Salt somehow, I'm going to say, fine, go for it. And I hope they feel the same way about me. And I think they do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Alright. Are there any more builds we need to cover, or shall we just go through to the spring?
Yeah, I waved down here as well, which was relevant. Because, again, you can't build everywhere, so you need to pick your area where you're going to be strong. And it was here, and then all of my colonies. Right? This core, and then fleet, 3, 4, and then 5 somewhere. Syracuse, yeah, colony. Okay, great. Let's go to these moves.
Oh my god, I can't tell what. Okay, hang on. So you did attack King of Prussia, but you didn't walk into Athens.
Yeah,
you supported yourself into Delphi to force disband his army.
Yeah, these tactics work out even better. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, he saw the walk into Athens, right? So that could have been ugly, but because it's a fleet and shall, this can't support whole Delphi. So I remember this, yeah. Because now Delphi is guaranteed, and then NAUP is guaranteed if I agree to support Akia into NAUP, and then he has this retreat into LEUK, but we're going to pop it anyways, because we're going to get this, and then Delphi gets popped, and then Epir taps Lari, and so that's golden, and I'm working with Lydia, and Lydia's been hostile with Ionia, so I got the agreed support into CAG, because I let them into Calc last phase, and I'm not taking Calc, I'm letting them have fun, so I get into NAEG, and so, yeah, I got Delphi is popped, and then I'm going to support myself into Athens and Shell, and Ionia and the region's completely cooked.
That's absolutely brutal. And you're going to do that overtaking MYT, right? The island on the Turkish coast.
Oh, yeah.
Even though that's a free dot for you.
It is a free dot right now, but MYT is going to be mine whenever I want it. Lydia doesn't have the fleets over here, right? Everything that touches Aegean is kind of just going to be mine. And that's great.
That looks like a misorder.
That looks like a misorder, yep. Well, it's fine, right? Everything's okay.
I assume that was not a deliberate misorder.
I don't deliberately misorder. That's just really not a thing I do. When I misorder,
okay.
I just suck.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a really good time for an intentional misorder. Wow. That's great. Because I don't want to vacate these things while they're in here. I don't know. I trust Akia. Yep. At this point, my diplomacy with Akia has been really clean, and I trust them a lot. Honestly, I trust everyone on the board at this point, which is evidenced by the fact that nobody's stabbing me. So that's great.
you said you don't deliberately misorder. What is Syracuse doing in
It's supposed to be going
Sicily?
to MACH, not MACE.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Alright,
see,
fine.
mace is a word that autocomplete wants to correct things to. Autocorrect. And MACH isn't, like mock. Yeah, mock is a word, but I think mace... is mace more popular than mock? I guess.
That's
Anyways,
a really good question.
But
It's not a bad thing that you stay in Syra, right? Because there's there's the King of Prussia army directly north
Yeah,
of you.
I would be moving back into Syracuse anyways, and I would have liked to bounce to be able to build, but it's fine.
Fair. I don't love what Carthage is doing to melee.
Yeah, but like, he wouldn't take that from me. We're friends. Friends don't take thoughts from friends. Yeah, why would he wouldn't take melee from me? No.
Okay, as I'm looking around here, I'm noticing another stab you made, and I think you should talk through it.
Which one?
The one on Salt.
What?
You appear to be supporting Carthage into Salt and... Well, you're supporting Iberia here, and you're supporting Carthage into Salt's army in the south in Africa, right?
Yes. Yeah. I did that. That is also very true. Yeah, huh. That is true.
Did you just forget this?
Yeah.
But, Salt was trying to support you into the Iberian center. I thought you liked dogs.
Yes, yeah, but remember this is Salt that we're talking about. And you see, Salt has 2 units here, and I only have 1. So hypothetically, let's say I do accept his support into Kant here. What do you think the odds are that he doesn't just take it in the fall?
I think they're actually pretty high, because Iberia will still be tapping his units, right?
I think you're right. I think there actually is a very good chance that Salt wouldn't have taken it in the fall. But my monkey brain said, Salt stabs this Kant. This is bait. He just doesn't want me to prop up Iberia here. Because if Iberia and I coordinate against the other colonials, then they're fine, honestly, for a long time. But Iberia obviously lied to me and didn't accept my support, and I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine.
So then you go to Salt and you say, oops, that was an accident, please forgive me.
I go to Salt and say, oops, that's an accident, please forgive me. You still down to support me into Kant?
Did he say yes?
Yep. Sometimes you just get lucky, okay? And you play a game and you make really big mistakes, and then you just don't get punished for them. That's a sign that you're going to have a good game. Because I make mistakes all the time. I am not a good diplomacy player, and I just need to not get punished.
I beg to do it. I think you're better than you think you are.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
I don't know why Salt would give you the support into Kant after you've done this, though, because he can also just support himself in... Right, he didn't get into the center he was trying to go for because King of Prussia's support got cut.
Yeah.
So he's still got 2 on Kant.
Yeah.
What? Why not just take it?
I thought he was going to take it in the spring, right? I thought he was going to take Kant and then take Sego in the fall. But I think he's still worried about me trying to organize people against him, which I'm not really doing. They're just kind of doing it on their own. I'm really not sure why Salt doesn't C dot take dot. But hey, I'm happy for it because it means that I got the dot instead.
Yes, indeed.
At least agreed. Sorry, we haven't seen that move. Spoiler.
Man, everything's painful for whatever the power King of Prussia is playing again.
Ionia.
I'm just calling him King of Prussia constantly because I keep forgetting. But
yeah, he's Ionia.
Yeah, in Rome here, he also gets stabbed by the Romans, right? Because he tries to support there and fails.
Yeah, it looks like Etruscan also stabbed him.
Yep. And Akia is pushing up that coast as well.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of pain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and this one, like, if I think the triangle between Akia, Ionia, and Doric is interesting, but I think it's too unstable, to be honest. Like, I think if any two can work it out, they're just too strong.
Oh.
Because this is what you see. The third party just gets crushed. And then let's look at the fall and like talk about King of Prussia's position. I think that's a good time to segue. But yeah, so here we see the retreat, we see the pop in Delphi, we see the retreat into LEUK, we see this retreat into Lati, we see this retreat into the Alps. Yeah. Okay, and then the fall moves, and as discussed, it's brutal.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm happy
Every
to sell.
dog gets cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I've already sold LEUK and Kirk, and then Mega was agreed upon that I'm going to eat it, so no worries. I'm going to get past her next year. But then I also got all of these Ionian centers, and now in the area, King of Prussia is down to just one core. Which is
Ouch.
Which is tough.
He does stab Sol for Paro in Sicily, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a trade. It's definitely a trade.
It
right?
looks like a trade, where he's getting Sicily and then he's getting Sardinia.
Mm-hmm. And wow, you actually do get the support intercom. I know you already said it, but I was like, I'm not gonna believe that until I see it.
Yeah, I mean, in exchange, I get to put salt into Bale, which is useful. And I think what happens is that I promise Salt that I will attack Carthage with him. Where it was like, oops, sorry I messed with you, but I will get units into these areas and I'll start putting pressure on Carthage from the east. And also put pressure on Iberia from you. Because Carthage here looks like he's having too good of a game with too little resistance, and like we assumed he was going to take Melli or whatever. So, I mean, I remember what I said about friends don't take centers for friends, though. Friend.
Yep. I assume you're going to have to sell that at some point, right? There's no way you'll be able to fight Carthage. Like,
really?
They're just very strong.
Who else is going to attack me?
Good question. I guess you'll have Salt support there, but what is Carthage doing? Why did they go to Algeria over Ecos or Isle there?
Trying to play the middle ground, I think. This is a good place to be. It's a nice place for an army that's still aggressive and still defensive, because you really can't push overland without it.
But why not take the 50-50 on one of those two dots? Because, like...
Yeah, I think the 50-50
it's a 50% shot.
Yeah, and like, you're at war, right? I don't know if ERYX was agreed or not. Like, maybe, but I'm not sure. I would have taken the 50-50 shot. But also, playing regional powers in this game messes with your mind, dude. Like, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, playing any power in this game probably messes with your mind. That's,
Yes, yeah.
It's like, one part of me really wants to try this variant for how interesting it sounds, right? It's really different from anything else that I've played. But another part of me is like, this is the kind of variant where you need to be focusing on the press 100% from the start. Whereas in Imperial, you can, like, go to sleep for the first 24 hours and still come out okay, right?
No,
and I'm a bit too lazy to play.
Oh my god. No, you can't do that in Imp Dip.
You can.
Okay, so, I do agree that this variant, it is much more... In Imp Dip, I think you're overstating it, but I do agree with the high-level point that this variant is more tense from the start. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. But yes, I think I may do this one when I've got less games going, right? Because it's one of the games that you need to be able to focus everything on.
I think so. I think that is important. Well, or you just get lax and you explode, right? But obviously we like winning, so we don't want to do that. Um, so strategically, in my position right now, I feel absolutely incredible. This is kind of a dream. Like, strategically, everything is coming up Ezio, where I've got Akia very solidly on side. The two of us are getting a great trade, and we are, frankly, going to be really stable allies because my units are here in the east, and I'm ready to push east, and we've gotten rid of our main issue, and then she's taking my centers over here, so I'm not going to be able to threaten her, and because she's taking the dots she could kind of stab for anyways, it really lessens the threat of a stab from either one of us. So we're feeling great, and having a solid ally in diplomacy always feels good, especially a solid ally who's not going to like stab you and kill you, which is great. So I'm a huge fan of this. And then tactically, just everything worked out the way that you hope that they work out. There were no surprises. This phase, there were relatively few surprises that could happen, but if Akia had decided to stab and work with Ionia instead, there could have been a couple of dots that didn't go my way. Not too many, but there were a couple. And then this one was a big one. So here with ELYS, if Undercooked Fish does any other tactics, this ends poorly. Because you notice I support Akia into ELYS in exchange for ITAN. And then I just tap MATR with only one. So if this unit retreats, then they would see that Kydonia is open and therefore can be retreated into, which would be very sad.
Yep. I was wondering about that. Like, is it really worth taking Eton this turn and risking all that?
Yeah.
It's one dot.
It's a dot.
Oh, I guess it also turns Kaio into a core.
It
now.
does, doesn't it?
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy.
And then Nax is also a core over here. And so if I want to pivot and now use my good position in the Aegean to immediately go and hit Lydia, I can do that now. Because I'm going to be able to build a Nax and Kaido and like put an army in Kaido, a fleet in Nax, get to CAEG and put the army into DODE and get to Halley and stuff. Like, this can be a really fast attack right into Lydia. And like that's ostensibly what I've been doing for a while. Here's the thing. I forget that Chal gets to retreat now. And where does Chal retreat?
Oh, it retreats in there and removes your core from both of them. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's something I would never think of in a million years.
Yeah. Right, I wasn't really worried about it. But oops,
Ouch.
This was very unfortunate. I don't think I'm supposed to take Athens here. I think these cores are actually more important this phase than the dot. Or I just maybe take Athens, but I don't take
you
Chal.
take Athens, you cover CYCL with Cake, right? And you take
and I take MIT. Yeah, that seems better. Or maybe change the order. I'm not sure exactly. But the point is, I think this was a really important center, like province area that I didn't really notice. I didn't notice that retreat, which because I'm bad. And I saw that I was getting three dots, and I went for it.
Like, I'm not gonna fault you for that one because it sounds exactly the same. Like, I would have done exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Anyways, we did the thing. This worked out pretty well, but he's going to have this retreat. These cores aren't going to be there. I got very lucky because this could have retreated into Kydonia, which would have broken everything. But nope. Everything worked out just wonderfully. Build a house of cards, and then it stays standing. That's wonderful.
One thing I do want to ask here. You said there's no coring in this variant. Then why is Lydia's fleet in Calc coring?
It still uses the bot. And so you can still input commands into the bot that are unnecessary.
Right, so they're just doing that to annoy the GMs.
Yes.
Yep. And you managed to keep Carlo up in Crimea.
Yep.
Could have sniped your core back here, actually.
Yeah, but I'd rather deny Ionia.
That's fair.
I don't know. I'm in the I'm stabbing someone phase. Let me take all of their dots everywhere as much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty good mental space to be in. Okay, and yeah, I do get the support into contest we talked about, and I support Salt into Bale. which is good. It means that now he's in good position against Iberia. And hey, my one core over here, my one center, it now has 3. And it gets to put another fleet down and stay nice and stable. Isn't that cool and fun? I haven't talked about this much, but the defensive position of this core is really cool. This whole like Zaki, Kant, GVAL thing is a really annoying place to try to break into.
I mean, it's Portugal, right? From Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone knows how annoying it is to take Portugal when someone really doesn't want you to take Portugal.
Yeah. Portugal, Spain, and like this isn't the Mid-Atlantic Ocean. It's not like this is... I mean, it's a very good sea province. One of the things that I've mentioned when I talked about this variant and high-level analysis previously, that I guess I'll mention again here, is just look at how good every sea province is on the map. This sea province, it borders 4 centers. This sea province borders 5 centers. This sea province, oh, it sucks, it only borders 2. This sea province also, actually, this only borders 2. Wow, that one sucks. That's weird. It doesn't look like it. But this one borders 3, this one borders 2, this one borders 4, this one borders 3, and then other stuff, right? Like, I don't know, every sea province, this one borders 1, 2, 3 again. They're all so juicy. So if you control the seas, you control everything in this very sea-dominated variant. And I think it's more true over here, where this one borders 4, this one borders 3, this one borders 4, this one borders 4, this one borders... Right, you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And
so yeah.
It should be noted that's really unusual for a variant, even a sea-based variant, right? Ancient Mediterranean is like one of the most popular 5-player variants on the internet. It's a much smaller version of this, right? It's the same area that it covers. But even there, you find yourself building armies almost as much as you build fleets, because in diplomacy, the water just doesn't count for as much, usually.
Usually, yeah.
They can be super important provinces to get through, but there aren't any supply centers in the water.
Yeah.
But here they fix that without putting supply centers in the water, right? Just by having the water be insanely well connected.
Yeah, they also, I don't know if you can say that, like, I think that Kirk and Kef and stuff, these are, like, kind of supply centers in the water,
true.
Right? Like, there's just more Denmark equivalents. So, and like, all of these. So, I don't know, I think they did put some supply centers essentially in the water, as these islands, but yeah, they've made all of the sea provinces incredibly valuable because they just border so many supply centers, and like the more valuable all of them are, the more you want fleets, and the more fleets you want, the more contesting there is.
Mm-hmm.
And it means that like fleets on this variant are absolutely the default build. And if you're building an army, there needs to be, I think, a good justification for why you want that army. And ideally, it should be something more than I'm going to get a dot this year with it. It's no, actually, I'm going to try to get, like, this stupid ENNA province. And you're like, how am I going to take this annoying-ass landlocked thing? Or whatever this thing is. One of the changes they made, actually, I think to weaken Dorian, was that there used to be a landlocked center here, that it just bordered KYDO and Eton.
Yep.
And they removed that.
Yeah,
So
I can see why. Also, you say the default has to be a fleet. If you're building an army, you know, it has to have a really good reason for existence. I'm just hearing Scythia crying in the corner, like, why can't I have any?
Yeah, the 3 armies start as Scythia. I do like it. I don't love it, because my heuristic is I generally prefer for an area of a map to be balanced, because the area of the map is balanced, and not that we just neuter their start so much. But also, the start's an important part of the game, and the 3 army start is a big handicap. And if you gave them fleets, I think they would be too strong, honestly. Because they're gonna win the fight over Callow and stuff, and if Scythia has like these 7 dots up here, they're unstoppable. So, I think it makes sense. I like it. I love this variant. I've had a blast every time I played it. And I'm happy to play more of it, and I'm happy to see more from the designer. I think Compope, right? So,
Yeah, not to bring it back to the same point again, but I did just want to say, you said every sea province in this variant is extremely important. I think no one will ever put a fleet in the Atlantic Ocean, whatever that province is at the top left.
Okay. I didn't remember.
But outside of that, I think you're correct.
Sorry. Yep. You got me, Captain. This sea province. Oof. That one's... Man. Yeah.
Man, that's just like a standard diplomacy sea province that's accidentally slipped into a variant where all of the other sea provinces are amazing.
Yeah, right? That's like what Eastern Med looks like. And you're just like, yeah.
Yep. Alright, sorry. We've been talking about that for longer than we probably should have been.
No, I mean, I think that was good. Okay. But yeah, so everything's coming up Ezio, right? This was another fantastic fall. I get to build in most of my colonies, except Byzantium, because, yeah.
Yep, I can see why.
I asked Lydia to support me to hold here because of this whole thing, but
they couldn't.
They couldn't
because everything was coming up Ezio.
And I didn't get attacked, right? As everything was coming up Ezio. This is great. Yeah, let's go to see the builds, and I think I might actually recite retreats.
Salt didn't stab you in road. There was nothing that could cover roads. He supports you intercon and doesn't take roads. Like,
Hell
come
yeah.
on. Why is it that it's only me that Salt...
Well, okay, I think that's not fair. I think Salt stabs everyone a lot. I think Salt doesn't stab me as much as he stabs everyone else, is the answer.
Alright, fair enough.
Because we've seen games with Salt where he just randomly stabs people for nothing, right? But, again, right, if he stabs me for roads, right, I'm still going plus 1,000,000, right? Like, after that spring, everyone saw that I was going to be really strong. And, like I said, I kind of have no rivals at the moment. Because Ionia was my only main rival in the area, and they're dumb, right? This is... You don't come back from this. Just simply put. There is no way out of this hole. And so if he takes Rhodes, he just says, hey, Ezio, I'm going to take this center that's overextended, and all of your fleets that are over here, instead of working with me against Lydia, instead of working with me against Carthage and against Iberia, right, all of your annoying units over here, come mess with me. Like...
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
I think it makes sense. I don't know, I get Salt. We're on the same wavelength.
I still think, like, in that position as whatever the power Salt is playing is Phoenicia, you go into Rhodes anyway and you say, sorry, I had to do it. It's like one dot. It's not going to destroy our alliance, right?
I don't know, man. Maybe. If you do that, Meme, if you take Rhodes from me here... Ooh. Again, I want to point out, right, you are also at war with Lydia, right? And you are messing with Lydia in Aleppo and all this stuff. And so if you take your time to don't bounce them and tell them and to take Rhodes off of me instead, you're very much solidifying me and Lydia as an ally instead of me as an ally against Lydia. And, right, like, you saw how much I was contemplating this brutal attack against Lydia with this retreat and the builds and stuff. So, I still have a solid one. Like, I can still get MYT and whatever. So, I don't know. If that's... And I'm the daughter here. Oh, because this is balance of power coming out. Because you're saying, no, he's strong. We must dot the board leader. Or else the board leader gets too strong or something. Anyways.
Well, I assume after this turn you are at the top of the... you're at the top of the scoreboard, right?
Yeah,
21 out of 42. You're halfway there already.
Well, we're halfway there. Yeah. No, this was another +5, which feels great.
Yep.
Like,
oh man, what was King of Prussia on the turn before? Because he's gone down to 9 now, which I think...
Yeah, that's below his start.
Is that... Ouch, -5. Oof.
Yeah.
At that point, you just disband everything in Greece, right? There's nothing you can Well, no, you probably want to keep CYCL on just to annoy you, but...
Yeah. Yeah, but why does he disband? What is this? Is this just a clean map?
It looks like this is the builds, because he's taken off Pyrus and...
Yes, these are builds great, but it does not show the stuff. Alright, so I put down another fleet. I put down Army Cory. Huh.
Man, just not being able to build Fleet Naxos, Fleet Kaido is so sad.
Yeah, obviously things go much better if I can put down those fleets here, and then, like, this fleet is less of a pain. This fleet is still not much of a pain. Like, it's not going to take anything from me, but it is annoying. I forget if I've sold Kef or not, because that's... Yeah, I forget.
You said you were trading it for Patra, right? The northern...
but I already sold Kirk and LEUK for these two. I don't remember. Maybe I am. I think they take it. I think she gets it. I don't know.
Yeah. Were there any other builds to focus on? I feel like everything's...
Yeah, I keep reinforcing out here, of course. I don't build anything more down here still. I was debating it. I will say, there are a lot of times where builds on this map don't populate correctly. The bot doesn't understand the new coring rules. It knows the active core rules. So if you try to build in a place where you can legally build, but the core, because of these cores, it won't put the unit on the map. So we're going to miss a couple of those at times. And then other times it just misses some builds. But I think this is accurate. Yeah. Alright, let's go look at some moves. I forget what's going on. I don't have anything useful to say.
Okay, well, you are now getting attacked by Carthage, it looks like.
Yeah, that was sad. And then he pops this fleet, I think.
Yeah, that is off the board.
Yeah, but I smelled it, and I got into GSID in time.
Was that like a diplomatic smelling that? Or was that, like, did he just not talk to you? Or was it because he went to Algeria?
To me, at least. Like, the press... Right around here in the game, people started becoming less and less active. You'll notice we have our first set of NMRs.
Ouch.
These are not the first NMRs we're going to have this game, which is sad.
Last NMRs, I assume.
Yeah, these are not the last NMRs we're going to have. I think these are the first. But, yeah, that part, it's a sad part that this game started becoming less and less active. Tyler stayed relatively active throughout. King of Prussia was giving it his all, but, like... When you're looking at this position, right, he has 9 centers out of 44. He's going to lose Mend. He's maybe going to be stable around here, right, if we can finish off Iberia before he dies, and the Etruscan NMR is, of course, quite helpful to this. He can maybe be stable out here, but if you're trying to get to 44 centers...
yeah, he's out of contention, right?
Right.
That's like...
And it's terrible to be out of contention by the third year of the game and still have 9 units on the board, so he's still the 4th largest power. But he's not going to win. And so, I don't know, right? This is a problem with the variant. This is a problem with every, I think, colonial variant, where you need to have a huge number of centers to win. If something bad happens and you get knocked out, you're not going to win anymore, but you're still a huge board player. Like, what do you do, right? You're stuck in this game, question mark, question mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So people are generally less active, is the takeaway.
People are lowering down. But Tyler and I stay relatively active, like, relative to the rest of the board. Obviously, I only send him a couple messages per phase, but that's still... actual messages talking actual strategy and plans, which is more than a lot of other people are doing. Tyler was complaining the only people who ever said anything to him for multiple phases in a row were me and Salt. And it's like, yeah.
That's so depressing.
Yeah.
You're stuck and the only people who will talk to you are Ezio and Salt. Two people who you know are just looking at your dots and wanting to take them.
Yeah. but also wanting a friend. And if Salt and I are worried about each other, then maybe we won't worry at him. But obviously, Salt and I coordinate. He's, yeah, I wouldn't feel too good about that if I were him either.
Yep. It just really makes... I assume he went up to Algeria and to try and piece Salt out completely so that he could go against you.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also note that Salt is moving away from him on the... out of the Balearic Isles, so Menno, your Ebus, like, that area, they're all moving north, and he's moving TUNS west, east even.
Yeah, so he's moving into me. Yeah, Salt is moving. Salt is moving away from Tyler, Carthage, and Tyler is moving to me, which is all very sad. And then he popped my fleet here, WSIC, and that was very sad.
Honestly, I'm not too sad about your fleet there being popped because it doesn't look like it would have been able to do very much anyway.
Yeah,
so at least taking it off the board, you can rebuild it somewhere else, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a terrible fleet. Something that I learned, actually, Melly was a core this whole time.
Yes, because it's on its own, right? I think I was going to ask this on the first turn when we were talking about this, but we got carried away from it.
Yeah, but Melly was a core. I could have just built in Melly.
Ooh.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I learned it later. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you understand all the rules, guys. Even I screw up. Great. But yeah, so here I am. I'm just going to go take men's. I'm like, all right, let's finish off. Finish off King of Prussia, get him out of the area completely. Let's get this fleet popped. Here it can technically retreat into a center, but I can take the center back. I mean, I did it, whatever. And here's just how good this province is, right? Like, it borders 1 billion centers, and so for me to stop this thing from taking a dot, I have to commit like 5 units to dealing with it. In this particular instance, I don't care too much about that. Like, often you don't want to make that decision because it wastes too much time and it slows you down too much to force a single thing. Usually, I like to send a single unit after it. Like, I'll tap it in CYCL, so that way if it goes anywhere, then I take that center. Then, like, I it only takes 1 center. And committing 5 units or whatever to stop it from taking 1 center is often worse than committing 1 unit to just make sure it only takes 1 center. So, oftentimes, I say usually it's correct to simply leave it. But in this game, right now, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to make any moves in the east. I don't want to know... Like, I want to know what Lydia's doing. I want to know what Salt is doing. I want to know what Akia is doing. I want to see if Akia and Salt are going to start fighting. Like, I want to do that before I make a big committal move. And ignoring this fleet to go and attack someone is, I think, a commitment. So let's avoid doing that. Let's clean this up cleanly, what English, and then we'll be fine. So I decided to go for this very slow line, but hey, King of Prussia's not going to get anything, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
that kind of like the CYCL thing just reminds me of when you're England and someone slips an unsupported fleet into North Sea.
Oh yeah.
Just anything that if it doesn't have an army backup to convoy over, you're so often just it's not worth trying to force it, right? You just let them go where they're going to go and then you chase it.
Yeah, it's like often good to force it, but then the intent is you let it retreat to like Edinburgh or London, and then you retake one of those centers. It's similar vibes.
Basically, you let them have a dot because at the end of the day, it's not worth trying to cover every single dot around that province.
Yeah.
It just takes too much.
Yep, it's too
But
efficient.
yeah, I can see your reasoning here. Just don't do anything, and this is a great excuse not to do anything.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, right? And so because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, let's stay safe. One fun thing, I do have an army over in Kef that I think I'm going to get convoyed over to ESIC, so I can finally take this stupid center. But actually, maybe not because of the whole
No, because
the whole Carthage stabbing thing. Yeah, whoops. Yeah, well, anyways, dreams and stuff.
It was a nice setup, but it's not going to pay off, I think. At least not right now. Yeah, so, is there anything more to talk about, or should we just go on to the next phase?
I think we can just go to the next phase. Or this is retreats, maybe?
This is retreats.
Oh, yeah, there was something to talk about.
Oh, he takes it off.
What's he take
Okay,
off? Yeah,
no.
he just pops it. But I convoy Scythia over to Crimea.
Okay, is there a reason for that?
Yeah!
Oh, because you want to get rid of, what's-his-face? This person off in the east.
Yeah, Colchis. Colchis is annoying, and I'm trying to retake my stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah,
hey.
and you've got no support there because you've not been able to core anything, and you've lost your core, so you've only got the one unit. You need his units to help.
Yeah, and he's
What about
been messing
units?
with Colchis this whole time. We've had solid relationships. Obviously, he's pissed on me being a goad, but at least I'm helping him out. So surely he's gonna go mess with Colchis and not take Callum.
Oh, you legend.
I
Thank
rolled
you for
my
giving
eyes
us
at
great
this one.
stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, this
Scythia,
made me
I
roll
respect
my
the hell
eyes
out
when
of
the
this.
face happened. At least he's gonna build an army in Yeli, surely. And then he's gonna go and like take Fan and Nace, and surely this will all be fine. Surely
Not
I
sure.
didn't just give someone the rope with which they will hang me. God. Remember when I say that I'm bad at diplomacy, right? This is the sort of stuff, right? Why did I do that? This was terrible. I could just walk into share, man.
I mean,
Right.
it kind of makes sense, right? You wanted to 100% get this person on board. At most, you're risking 1 dot for it, so it's not a massive issue. Although, you did say earlier that if Scythia manages to get 7 dots in the corner, they're pretty much unbreakable, right?
Yeah, I did say that, didn't I? At the start of the game. I saw that. I looked at this board and I knew that. I played Scythia last time. They played Scythia last time. What am I doing? It was awful. This was like, of course he's going to take the guaranteed dot. He knows I'm going for sure. What the hell was this? Anyways, the answer is that I like making deals. I like making deals with people, and I think it's fun. And this was terrible. Alright. But yeah, we should look at retreats first a quick sec, because I think he does take the fleet off the board in CYCL. He doesn't even go to Kaido or Nax or whatever and force me to actually disband it. He just gets rid of it. And so that's fine. I appreciate it. He doesn't have to think about it anymore. I think he doesn't want to look at this east anymore and see the former Ionian cores.
That's fair enough, yeah.
I agree, frankly. So
Now, I'm wondering if you're going to take this opportunity to walk into Calc finally from Byzantium. No? Okay. You are resisting the urge to do so. I guess it is just 1 dot, and you are quite hard aligned with this player right now. But you're also aligned with Salt, and Salt wants you to attack this player, right? Oh, wow. Okay, Salt is going all in on... wait, did he allow you to go into anti, or was that just you dotting him?
I think I dotted Salt a little bit right here.
Yep.
Yup.
I mean, that's amazing for you, getting that kind of support against... No, is he supporting you against Tyler? Because he's also moving his Sardinian fleet north. And
Yeah.
Tyler is pivoting into the Turanian? I don't know what's going on. Well, it was well played of you to slip into G-Ham next to next to Carthage.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Alright, sorry,
Yeah.
I'll let you explain what's going on here, because I'm just, like, talking through my thoughts.
No, your thoughts are great, and they're quite useful. And honest to God, I don't remember. This was a long time ago. And this phase... I remember what going on over here. But over here, I'm pretty sure I just was like, oh, you know what? If I have anti, and Salt doesn't have anti, then I'm very safe in this area. Because
Yeah.
the way to break these... you kind of need to have units down here to actually force yourself in. And so if I take this core, then I have an extra dot. I'm going to build another fleet in Saki, just keep pumping them out, and everything will be fine, right? But I don't think I end up building a fleet here because I talked to Salt about this one, and it's like, look, man, I've thought of him, right? I've thought of him, and like I kind of almost thought of him earlier. I tried to thought him earlier, but didn't do that, and I did it again here. If I put a fleet down in Zaki, am I going to be able to not attack him? And if we look at the winter, we can see the colors of the stuff around me.
Yes, that's very Salt color.
And so he's like, look, man, if you put down another fleet here, what are you going to do with that fleet except attack me? And I'm like, defend myself from you? And then he... Yeah, so that's a fair pitch, and I don't know, I didn't want to fight, and it's like, alright, we can be friends here. Look, I have 4 dots and 3 units. That's a big enough win for me in this area. I'm not worried about it. I'm content to mostly just sit around here for the rest of the game. And honestly, I kind of was. But also, I know that this is Salt that we're talking about, so he is going to attack me, it's just a matter of when. But, anyways, I don't know if I end up building there or not. We can see in the winter. I think I don't. I think I waived that one. Or build it elsewhere. Obviously no waves on this map. And it's not like I have a ton of... Like, I have too many units and not enough places to build. So, the wave was not a big issue. Tactically, I think I remember telling Tyler what I was up to here. Maybe not the move to G-Ham. I think we were agreed to bounce an OEA, but... No, I think I told him, look, I'm going to not let him take Melly easily, but I'll let him take Syracuse. That was what I was telling him. And so this is fine. You see I have this move from CAF into ESIC, but then I changed my mind about it. So I just went for the simple support. Everything's nice and easy. And then, yeah, CAF
and you
gets
swap CAF
forced.
for Patra,
Yeah. That's fine.
It's not forced, right? You can retreat it to a list, and it might actually be worth doing that because of the map painting thing.
Yeah.
But maybe it's better as a fleet, actually.
Yeah, I think popping and putting it down elsewhere is what I decided to go for. But again, I really regret here covering Melly, because like at this point, I know I can build in Melly, so I'm sad about needing to cover it. And then look at me being a good friend, and moving a unit over to here to support my ally into a center. Look at that.
Yeah, is that ally... Well, I assume, yeah, they will now pivot into Salt, right? But they're not attacking Salt currently, so...
They're not, but look at that.
Oh yeah, Salt does stab them.
Salt just dots them a bit. That makes
well,
pitch
Salt
a lot
doesn't
easier.
want 2 fleets going down in that area, right?
I assume Salt does not want a ton of fleets in the area immediately. And then also Colchis did a slip out, by the way, and then walked into a tire. So, that was big. Salt did good tactics over here, so Salt gets into Kane, and Lydia does not get Tars. Not that Lydia was actually making any moves to Tars. Here, Lydia agreed to move into Telm, but then didn't. They just bounced themselves, and I'm like, well, that's annoying. But, oh well. The most annoying part of this phase, though, was this thing right here. So, I had talked with Illyria about stuff, and Illyria was pitching me on a long-term attack on Achaea, and like, oh, let's go do a bunch of things. And I'm like, maybe. I'm not sold on it, but you know who we can do? Let's go and let's mess with Scythia, and let's clean up Ionia. So I agreed to support them into Mend if they'd agree to support me into Audrey. Which they said yes, and then they just took Olympus instead. So, like, it's a 0 dot, because they were going to get Mend anyways, and then they just, like, didn't? I don't know.
Like, the interesting thing as well about this, to me, is that they must have agreed this Olympus thing with Achaea, right? Because Achaea is standing next to it and not going into it in a Polaris.
Yeah.
So, why didn't Achaea tell you that was what was happening?
Well, because I assume that Illyria didn't, like... In most of these games, everyone isn't telling everyone all the deals they have with everyone all the time, even allies. Yeah. And so, like, I wasn't telling Achaea that I have this deal with Illyria, right? So I assume Achaea either didn't know about it or didn't want to tell me that they were doing this thing. with Illyria, so everything was fine. I don't know, like, I wasn't pissed. Like, I noticed it. It was a little bit sus, but whatever, it's fine. It mostly just got me pissed at Illyria, because I'm like, dude, don't zero dot me, right? Like, let's...
Well, they did... well, okay, I was going to say they didn't zero dot you. I'm thinking of the wrong power here. The one who walked into Crimea is Scythia, right?
Yeah, Scythia did a one-dotter, right?
But they, amusingly here, you just convoyed Scythia into Crimea, and then you immediately make plans to stab them.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I feel like they're very justified in taking Calais from you here.
I never said they weren't. I'm saying my convoy, me putting them in Crimea was dumb as bricks. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, not my finest moment. And what's fun, right, is that we look at the centers over here. I take one from Colchis. Colchis takes one from Ionia, and then Scythia takes one from me. So at the end of the day, the only center that changed hands was Scythia going +1 and King of Prussia going -1.
Oh, and you're back in your starting calls, both you and King of Prussia, right? This is like...
What? No, this is Colchis and Theo.
Oh, that's Colchis, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm dumb. But you've ended up in exactly the same place you started.
These two centers have not done very much for me. Byzantium did let me build a fleet, which got into NAG, which did let me get the stab for Chal. So that part was great, was very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright. Is there anything else to talk through here?
I don't think so. I think we can go to winter.
Let's
we
go
say
to
goodbye
winter.
to our first player, Undercooked Fish. Egypt eliminated. Akia got everything. Well done, Akia.
How are you still on 21? Did you gain nothing there?
Maybe. This was not a great year for me. I dotted for Anti, but I lost Syracuse.
You lost Kev?
I lost Kev, but got Pasher. Yeah. I got Share, but lost Caleb. Yeah. Not a great year.
Yeah, zero dot year.
I did get popped in WSIC. So
so you get a build anyway.
I think I'm still building somewhere. But I think I have relatively few builds again, so I think I agree to wave in Saki. Yeah, here we can actually see the builds. So there's a thing in this one. There's an army in NAUP. I remember that one was like, huh? At least it's not a fleet. And then they couldn't build in Kirk because of the whole coloring thing. And then fleet east coast of Laos. And so this is a sus moment.
Yeah.
But...
And you put down Fleet Smarter, so you're just 100% guaranteeing that you keep that whole area over there, right? Oh, that's also your closest core to the front line. I didn't notice that.
Which front line?
Against Carthage, right? Oh, no, it's not.
These cores are
those ones.
Similar, yeah. But I was spending some time looking at this, and it's like, I have a lot of fleets. I am very secure in this area. I have a line that's going to be pushing out. CMed seems really important to keep, just in general. So, yeah. And I'm
There's no
going to
one
try
else
to,
adjacent to it.
Sorry?
There's no one else adjacent to CMed, so you could just build in Africa and then go into GSID and then just hold it from there, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that works too. But I'm like, I want to be in CMed to help with Melee and stuff, and like Max and Ione and C, right? It doesn't border that many centers by itself. It only borders 3, but all of the C province that it borders are also crazy. Like, this feels kind of like the heart. This feels like Burgundy. Or maybe Gascony is better. I think Gascony is a better equivalent, because it's not getting anywhere by itself. I have all the stuff that it's adjacent to, but like, it keeps everything secure and good. So, I don't know. I want to have something there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The Carthage army build is super interesting to me. The one in THAP.
Yeah. I mean, I am in THAM.
Fleet. Yeah, I would expect a fleet, right, to help deal with that, but I guess that he's worried about
Salt is attacking him, right? So... Yeah.
So he puts the army on that front to be defensive against you, but it's also close enough to just jump into HIPP if needed.
And notably, it's an army, so it can like support hold HIPP, whereas the fleet could not. So
yes, that's pretty important.
Yeah, this helps with stuff. Yeah. Have things exploded between me and Akia yet?
Did Scythia just not build? I thought they gained something.
Yep, Scythia did. They gained Cal. They waved.
They dotted you for a wave.
Just incredible stuff. Look, it's better than a fleet in ODES, obviously, but come on, man. At least put something down in Yeli. At least take something off of Colchis, man. Dotting for a wave, just oof. Yeah.
I assume that they're hard aligned with Colchis at this point, although now looking at the Azov move, no.
Hard aligned, yep, that's why Colchis is covering everything and moving into Azov, yep.
Why are you going into the Central Black Sea?
I don't know, man, it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, does Lydia... is Lydia okay with you being there?
What's Lydia gonna do about it?
Fair enough, I guess. I guess they're back in position to bounce you out of Calc again now if they...
Yeah. Here I was really debating going for an actual spring stab. And this is a time when, looking back on it, I definitely just should have. Obviously...
Now, see, you usually say that when someone is gonna stab you on this coming turn, but I don't see Lydia stabbing you, right? They seem to be pretty loyal.
Well, okay, there's loyal, and then there's insane. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have a stab.
Oh yeah, they don't have a stab on me, but they can make defensive moves against me. And this was an occasion where I think stabbing in spring, to if I just walked into Calc and MYT and or Sard in the spring, which I assume I would have been able to, everything it's so much easier because then in the fall I can use these units to support other units in a good position still. Right? But just holding with CAEG, for example, I'm probably going to stab Lydia. I know why I didn't. I was worried about Akia stabbing me and, moving into Delphi. And if I stab Lydia at the same time that I get stabbed by Akia, things go poorly for me. I agree to get out of Ionian at this point. You'll notice all of the centers that it touches, except for Mega, are Achian centers. And so she's like, hey, mine. Not yours. Yep. And I say, okay. But also, I
mean, that also explains why you really want something in CMed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. And it could be Ionia, but also, I'm trying to use my fleets to get into position against Carthage still, so... Yeah, we got problems.
Just before we look at this area, back on the Lydia front, something I noticed. You said you really want Haley out of Haley, right? And it looks like Lydia really doesn't, because they keep doing things that... It looks like you supported them to Eastern Med there.
Yeah.
In the hope that it would get out of the way so Haley could actually leave. And nope, they went somewhere that was guaranteed not to work. So Haley gets bounced back in.
Yeah. No, the agreement here was that Gant would go into Eastern Med, Haley would go into Gant, and I would be supporting that all along the way, and then they would go and get Kyre. Obviously, I want them to move units away from me, because that's what I want them to do. I always want people to move units away from me, if they're allies or enemies.
Yep.
And here they didn't. This annoyed me.
And, man, again, they can... It's a bit of a terrible stab if they do it, but they can, at any point, just walk into DODE to deny you 4 cores. No, 3 cores. Rhodes is an actual core.
Rhodes is a real core, yeah.
So if you're ever going, Mega Plus on a turn, although I don't see that happening anytime soon, that is something they can do.
Yep.
What's going on here?
I'm just making aggressive moves against Carthage, and Carthage is making aggressive moves against me. Aggressive / defensive. They're doing stuff I'm trying to get Carthage to fight Salt primarily, and more importantly, I'm getting Salt to try to fight Carthage, which happened.
That is such a YOLO play. I mean, clearly they knew that, like, Salt knew what Carthage was doing here, right? Because you don't do this if you don't know that Carthage is going Western Sahara or off somewhere else, right?
These moves do seem a little insane to me, but when they work hard. And look at that. It's glorious.
It really did. I see Salt moving his fleet back out to the Baleares.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't seem good for you.
Yup. I mean, it's probably fine, right? What's Salt gonna do? It's not like he's in 2 centers adjacent to EPUS. Yeah.
But then you've got G-Val to support holders, so...
I do, but then I lose Conch.
Well, you can... Oh, Hispania is not... Yeah, it's a fleet.
It's a fleet.
Please tell me you don't actually go to the Atlantic Ocean at some point in this game. It will ruin my point from earlier so much.
Notably, the fleet
I think
Hispania...
you're colouring in.
Sorry?
I think you're just colouring in. Is that correct?
I'm not just colouring in, but the fact that I have coloured an anti is really important. Or Hispania, because now I can build an anti. The fleet in Hispania borders Gaul, which is weird.
Right.
Because this is all one thing. I didn't recognize this at first. Salt told me about this, actually. It was like, yeah, your fleet Hispania, go move to Hispania to go take Gaul. And I'm like, he's full of shit. And then I asked the GMs, and the GM's like, oh, that's legal. And then I say, oh, I'll do it. And I got the sense, I recognized that Iberia was in it for the memes, and so I asked for him to try to end his game in nice. Because that'd be a nice place to end. And he was like, alright, let's do it. So...
there you go. Memes can be very effective diplomatic tools.
Dude, when you're negotiating with people that are, like, 23 and younger, if you have good memes for them, you are going to be an effective negotiator. It's really actually quite crazy. In face-to-face diplomacy, this was one of my strengths. I used up really hard with a couple of people, which was great.
It's so true, though. Like, it's so weird, but it is so true. All the kids love memes these days.
Yeah. And the point is, the high-level point is, if you understand how the person you want to negotiate with is negotiating, if you understand their style and how they click, what arguments to use, what style to use, you're going to be way more effective. And I recognized this was a good pitch based on the negotiation, and it worked out. And I got him to just walk into Alps, and I think he was even fine with me taking Gaul. Because, like, I tried to work with him a couple times, and it didn't quite work out, but we were never, like, pissed at each other, so it was fine. And then, I got to walk into Gaul. Look at that. And meanwhile, I will then have 5 centers and only 3 units, surrounded by Salt. What do you think is going to happen, CaptainMeme?
Well, this is the thing, because I remember the last Hellenic commentary, you kept insinuating that Salt would stab you, and I was like, yeah, of course Salt will stab you, he's Salt, and then he never did.
And then he never stabbed me, it was amazing. Yeah.
So I'm worried the same thing will happen here, and he'll just go, okay, fine, yeah, let's let Ezio grow in the corner behind me. Salt, please don't do that. Please actually stab Ezio. I really want you to stab Ezio.
Yeah, it means that we can have a bonding experience, because this would be my first Salt stab that I've ever experienced myself. Mm-hmm. And it would be good for Diplo strats for Salt stab, so that's good. Yes. Okay, anything else that happened here? Oh, here, there was a big thing. Akia was very insistent that I don't walk into Ellis here, actually, which makes sense. They don't want me to be next to Kef. They don't want me to do anything crazy. And I'm sad about it, because it means I can't core PATR. But I have Corey already, so, like, it's fine. And you can see I'm a little bit nervous. Right.
I imagine part of it is actually that they don't want you to core PATR, because if you build a fleet there, they're a little screwed, right?
Yeah,
Well, I guess you can just
tough.
do that in Corey anyway.
Exactly. And again, we're talking about busted provinces. Look at this spot in GCOR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. 5 dots out of 6 adjacencies. That's what you like to see.
adjacencies,
7
but yeah.
adjacencies? Oh, EPEL. Sorry, there's the North Coast.
Mhm.
Anyways, look at that. That's sick. We love it. So yeah, keeping that demilitarized is good. They have this fleet in Kef, which I don't love right now, right? Obviously, like, things can get a little tense, and I'm in Delphi now, and I have this army in EPEL, which is going to be defensive and annoying for a while. So, things are looking great. Here, I just hold an ESIC, and King of Prussia doesn't dislodge me, which makes me sad, because I would love to retreat into somewhere. Because there's the right 2 units, 3 centers. If they dislodge me, I have somewhere to retreat to. That's good. But he doesn't. He just taps me. Fine.
Yep.
And this is still a spring turn, so everything's not chaotic yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see how this goes.
You have the
This
retreat.
is the retreats.
Yeah, SSIC back to Carthage. Okay, that's fine. He's trying to stay safe and stay alive. Do. I think I agree to get Tyler to give me some concessions in exchange for me to, like, not fully killing him here. Because if I work with Salt, obviously he's completely exploded. And I think I'm like, alright, I'm going to get Syracuse back and stuff. But we'll see.
Well, I was gonna say I would ask him for OEM at the very least, but then it looks like you did. You just
OEA.
OEA, sorry.
That's fine.
Yep.
See, CaptainMeme, I'm not immune to getting Salt stabbed.
You did actually get Salt stabbed. Hell yeah, go Salt.
Yeah, right? It happens. And see,
I assume he didn't tell you he was going to con.
No,
like, that's not an arranged bounce.
This was not an arranged bounce. This was me looking at it. I'm looking at this thing in Bale saying, God, I can't believe I didn't bounce in Bale. But, yeah, Sego held. That was the real tip. Salt and I are allergic to holding. If we hold, it's a really
as
bad
Juvel is
sign.
holding at the same time.
Sorry? Oh, yeah.
That one is holding too.
Right, we're both just like, yeah, no, it's not it. I mean, look, I understand. He's got a lot of units. I've got units in the corner. If I get big, it's going to be bad for him. So he goes for a stab, and he can force this fleet off the board. And so, in post-game discussion, Salt admitted that he forgot that I could build an ante when he made this move. Because I'm still going plus, right? I'm getting some stuff. I got Zank. I got OEA. I didn't lose much. He knew I was going for some dots on Lydia.
Oh my god, you get 2 from Lydia?
Yeah.
Up north? You did stab. Oh, you lost Chesson, yeah. Okay. Oh my god, you walk out. No!
So, I stab Lydia, who's been a very loyal ally for most of the game. I lose Chair. Audrey retreats to Byzantium, so I lose Byzantium.
Oh, no.
I walk out of Met. I -1 dot stab myself.
That's so bad. No.
Whee! Whoop-a-doo! Yeah. This
when
one
you
felt
said
bad.
when you said this was a turn you should have spring stabbed, that was because the stab ended up being really, really terrible. Have you considered that it might have been a good idea not to stab at all?
Oh, no, not even a little bit. Whoa. Hold up a second. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to stab. Where else am I growing? I mean, other than Carthage, where I'm growing. But, like...
Yeah. You're growing -1.
Here, Dude, oh my god. I want to vomit.
I assume
so
that,
bad.
like, this was just Lydia predicting Sard and Mitt.
Yeah, this was just Lydia, like, look, man, what are you doing in Central Black Sea? You're still in Byzantium, and you've been holding there for the entire game, dude. Like, what's this? Right? This is just saying...
Yep.
Yeah, so it was not exactly the most hidden stab of my diplomacy career. Not the stab I'm most proud of at any point. But, I don't know, man. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oof.
Yep. fair enough. That part was terrible. Was there a good part that you want to talk about? Or...
Oh, this turn?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, Salt...
You said you got Carthage to agree to give you Syracuse back, but you didn't take it.
Yeah, I went for Zank. I think that's a later thing. Because here, like, I think Tyler was hoping that Salt and him would be friends, and they could work something out. But, that doesn't happen. Ish. I suspect Tyler was like, oh, Salt has seen that he's going to stab Ezio over in the west. Surely Salt isn't going to also continue fighting me. Surely not. But he did. And so I think in reaction to that is when Tyler and I were like, hey, you want to not let Salt get everything in exchange for nothing? And then we did.
Yeah, that's fair.
And actually...
many people have made that mistake with Salt, right?
Yes. And actually, there was a big part of this turn that I should have talked about, and that is that Akia did not attack me. We were worried about it. We saw the tension increasing. There was this potential move into Gulf of Corinth, and like now been like going for Delphi and stuff. But and then also like other stuff over here, right? Ellis and Krep. This bounce was agreed upon, so this was okay. But like this could have been really rough, right? I stabbed Lydia for a terrible stab to not get any dots, and Carthage is I'm fighting Carthage, but I'm getting growth here still, so it's okay. But like, if Akia had stabbed me here, I would be in for a rough couple years, I think.
Yeah,
but that
I agree completely.
Yeah, that because I think it makes sense because from Akia's perspective, you're able to get Olympus, that's great, and then getting your fleets north into this area is important and good. So, I think this is a good place to grow, and like I'm not in position to stab her, right? Like I've done a good job at not giving myself that as an option, so we can both continue to grow and be friends. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't love the position for her just because like the Egypt centers, where do they go now? You can fight Salt. Yeah, but how much are you gonna gain with fleets there? 'Cause
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, but how hard can you fight with a fleet? You've got, if you're in Enlev, that's adjacent to 3 centers, right? Well, four Salt centers. But you've got to funnel them through one fleet at a time. And if he's just got armies there, you're not going to get very much.
That's potentially true, but there's a couple of things. One, these centers are relatively easy to capture with just fleets. He doesn't have that much support. I'm happy to prop and assist, right? I've been working with that the whole game. So, that part's all fine. And then, the chaos over here, Salt doesn't have any armies to support this area. Like, he does, but they're busy tied up here. And Assyria, right, that's owned by Colchis. Right? Salt, like, isn't super dense in this area.
Yeah,
so,
okay. He looked a lot more dense in the last turn than he actually was, I think.
Yeah, right, but, like, Galax went up to Gant, and, like, he's losing Tars, so yeah. That's where I think your fleets are going anyways, and I think that's a reasonable place for your fleets to go. And then, rather than trying to coordinate on me from both the east and the west, it's just, yeah, the east goes east and the west goes northwest. And, like, it's not like I'm particularly vulnerable either, to be clear. So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm building 3 this year despite the abysmal, or actually not quite, because there's this retreat which hasn't been processed. So I'm building less.
2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless something got popped. And this fleet got popped, so I'm going to build some extra.
Okay. So I assume you're going to put down 2 behind Salt in the corner.
Yeah, fleet
Which
Zaki,
is why...
fleet anti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why it was so good that I took Hispania, because now I have 2 cores over here. And so everything is, like, it's not great, but it's also far from doomed. Like... Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a grind if he wants to get anything. And if I get into Hispania, right, like, Hispania, Anti, Kant, Saki, G-Val is basically a stalemate line. I haven't done the actual analysis, but, like, I just can look at this map and know that you're not breaking that effectively ever.
Yeah, I can see that. I would be very tempted to put out an army ante here, just so that Hispania can aid with Sego. But then I guess you've got just as tasty provinces over the sea, right? In North Africa, so
yeah, and
fleet
like
makes sense too.
controlling Alba is great, so we like this. And maybe it's not G-Val. I think it was like Zaki supports Kant and like Hispania supports anti type stuff, and like that's a very simple stalemate, right? Zaki supports Kant, yeah, like something like this. Anyway, it's not a true stalemate. I recognize that, but again, in these games, stalemates are fake, so don't worry about them. Just have a bunch of units and recognize they're never going to take your stuff.
Yeah. It's like what tends to make an actual stalemate need to be secure in standard diplomacy is the fact that you're holding 17 centers against a power who will win the moment they get across that line, right? So you have to hold everything securely. In a variant like this, the stalemate the stalemate sort of condition is you being annoying enough for someone to go into that they turn around and go the other way. Which is... So it doesn't need to hold 100% against everything, it just needs to hold against enough that it becomes super annoying for them.
Make it not worth it for them to attack you and then stay alive. / hold for long enough if they do try to attack you that they lose stuff elsewhere. Because while they're trying to break it, they're committing whatever 5, 6, 7 units on you, / however many they actually need to actually break your line, get them into the right spots, which takes a while, and so they're committing a bunch of units for a long time to this, whilst you're harassing them, of course. You can also take stuff from them elsewhere, and so they don't have enough units. On the classic map, what happens is that there's enough units on both sides where you get secure, and you just sort of naturally move towards the stalemate line that's in the center of the board afterwards. That's generally the safest, smoothest expansion, is you consolidate safely on your half and then you just keep pushing towards it. On this map, there is no natural, safe expansion path that you're going to take that will lead you towards a line. Everything is your choice and it's kind of arbitrary. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I'm definitely putting 2 units down. I put down 2 fleets because I'm building fleets in this variant. And I forget where else I built. I might put down something in like somewhere, maybe like Nax or Rhodes or something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, Rhodes.
You put down both. In North Africa and in Rhodes.
Yeah. I have 3.
So you got 4.
Or 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, sure. Yeah, I had pops, I guess.
Whoa! You built an army. Is that the first for this?
No, I built an army in Kori a while ago.
Oh, okay, fine.
But yeah, and this is one of those maps where like it just shows the changes, but it doesn't show the rest of the units on the map. Which makes things kind of somewhat clear. Sad about this one, Salt managed to sneak out a fleet in the west, which is going to be annoying, but at least there's not more. And then Army and BYBL makes it tougher, and then Akia put down this fleet in Rose, though, right? And you're like, oh yeah, that is the right spot for a fleet, but man, I don't want them to be going into ELYS.
Yeah, where did your units in Northern Lydia go?
All the units on the map, you'll notice, except for the builds, have been removed. It's just the thing that happens with the map at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing. Oh yeah, and they have Callow as a course. They can build a fleet in Callow. God, Scythia, man.
The map painting rules really do advantage people in the corner as well, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, I love the convoy. Getting into Syracuse with that. Oh, wait. What is Epirus doing?
Holding. Ooh. Very scarily holding.
That is... Man, if they had Ionian order that to convoy, that would have been very painful for you. It's like they're just pointing out, hey, I can do this to you. I'm not doing it, but I can do this to you if I really want to.
What she told me is that she actually had the convoy in. And you'll notice she does stab me here a little bit.
Yep.
But then
just a little bit. That's more than a little bit.
That's a little stab. That's fine. What's a little stab between friends?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is workable, man. What? Like,
so when I mentioned that I didn't see where she could go from Egypt except into you, I think she saw things the same way I did.
Similarly, at least. I'm not sure. I think it was honestly more this. I think she was like, well, if I work with you to take out Phoenicia, then how do I win? And Phoenicia is attacking you for sure, so we can do that. But at the same time, she also said that she changed her mind. Because she was thinking about this convoy and then decided not to do it. So maybe she was like, yeah, these fleets are just going to attack you, but we can still be friends over here. And I'm like, okay. And then you'll notice she did still support me from Zank into ESIC. Right?
But they're moving in behind you, so... Oh no, Italy doesn't connect Sicily there.
It does not. No. Yeah, this is not an actual land bridge. There's no no adjacency here. But yeah, no, this was just like... This felt to me like, oh, you know what? Very reasonable. Well, good respect, ally. This is fine. We'll be friends. And it's not like I didn't feel the potential coming, right, with this move back to GSID. And my army in APOL is now in Eastern Sahara, where it can now defend and keep things fine. So it was like, alright, fine, good for you, let's go be friends. And then she was like, alright, yeah, we were good. Because again, what does she take from me? Right, she's committed to this big attack, right? She can get Eton. Okay.
I feel like she could get a fair bit from you if she'd done the convoy.
Oh, if she'd done the convoy, things could be a little worse. Yeah, things would...
Yeah.
A little worse. To be clear, the convoy gets her one of these two centers. It gets her Pater or Mega. But, like, CMed can still tap again and can still hold. Right? And, like, yeah, she got lucky that I moved into Cycle instead of into Corey. But, like, if I moved into Corey, she's really getting very little at the moment. And part of me playing so terribly previously and not taking things that I should have taken in the past means that I still have a lot of growth available. Like, getting
it's true. It's tactical bad play.
from me. Yeah, anyways. It means that I'm gonna get men, I'm gonna get MYT, I'm convoying into Syracuse, which I don't tell her about. And this is part of it. It's because she thinks I'm gonna support myself with Toyonin and walk into ELIS. Because I'm being so cagey about my tactics here, she's like, oh man, I think you're gonna stab me. So she wanted to have... Very reasonable, right? Hey, this person might stab me. I'm Ezio. I stab people a lot, as evidenced by this game, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, anyways. So, like, yeah, of course I'm gonna stab her at some point. Probably. But... she was right about it, didn't actually commit to the scary part, and so for me, I think this is fine. This is totally workable, and we can just be friends, and you'll have no problems in the future. Right? Like, this is just great.
I'm skeptical of this, but...
yeah, but I think
we'll
we'll be fine. And if I think we'll be fine, then we will be fine. That's how games work, CaptainMeme.
Yes.
What's the phrase when you, like, manifest the reality by saying and thinking good thoughts?
I think it's called manifest the reality by saying good thinking and thoughts.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So I do that, and I'm very good at it. And so by wishing for things to happen, they just sort of happen. It's really quite convenient. I recommend doing this. So I think we'll be friends, and therefore we'll be friends. Remember when I thought that Salt was going to stab me? Right? Obviously... that was what happened. I thought he was going to stab me, and I recognized it. If I just, like, thought that he was never going to stab me, we'd be friends. Yeah, obviously. Anyways.
Just think positive thoughts, and everything will be fine.
just stay positive. Anyways, so, yeah. Over here, tactically, things work out for me very well. I just crush it. I bounce Hispania, I get Zaki into Kant, and then I get lucky with this, where Salt supports himself into Alba and doesn't support himself into G-Val. And so now by bouncing Bale, he doesn't actually have any centers off me this year.
And you almost have guaranteed Sego, except King of Prussia can interfere with it.
King of Prussia can interfere, yeah, but...
Aquitaine.
We'll see if he does.
I think we missed this, but it looks like Iberia's quest to get into Nice did not.
Oh, yeah, we didn't mention it. I think he got bounced out.
Well, respect
he didn't even go for Nice. He
didn't go for it? Okay, no respect to you. You gotta commit to the meme.
I don't know, man. He let me take his center, he gets respect from me.
Well, no respect from me. You need to fulfill the meme if you're going for the meme.
That's fine. Anyways, but here the tactics work really, really well for me, so I can hold out for a while. And yeah, if King of Prussia wants to take Gaul from me, then I get Sego. So, yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
That's huge. And so, like, Salt stabbing me, he got this one center from me, and he might lose another one. And in the meantime, we're committing a bunch of units to fighting each other that aren't going to get anywhere. This is how you convince Salt to stop attacking you. Is to say, look, man, where are your dots? Salt looks at you and agrees, and then you guys stop fighting. So I just need to hold out for a little longer.
Goes and dots someone else somewhere else.
Exactly. Exactly. So Salt is a rational player. Just don't let him take dots and he won't attack you. Great. But yeah, so negotiations with Akia, they're my primary negotiation partner this turn, and it's just like, okay, let's be fine. At this point, I think Tyler has said, all right, I'm your vassal, keep me alive, please, and then I won't fight you. And I say, okay, great, let's do it. And so I'm like, I forget what's under this week. We talk about some splits and stuff, but essentially Tyler says, don't kill me, I'll help you fight Salt, and I say, great, let's go fight Salt. And so he goes and takes Obli.
You can support into Western Sahara. Didn't notice this. That's gonna screw Salt so much if you just decide to stay at war with him.
Yep. Yep, Western Sahara's a big one. I don't necessarily need to support myself in there because he's not in there at the moment. And one thing that I do want to stress is that my unit in Eastern Sahara is probably covering MATR because there was this Akia stab in the east. So my unit has a little bit more to do, unfortunately. But I was hoping to just support myself in Western Sahara and then we call it a day. Right, like, yeah, Salt's just cooked. But, no, instead I'm going to cover here and I'm going to... Because I'm covering here, I'm not attacking Salt fully, but I think I don't know if I tell him tactics. I don't think we're talking tactics. At this point, we're still like, can we be friends? Can we not be friends? Who knows? And bounce with Scythia. I don't think we agree on that bounce. I think I just do it, and then Scythia gets tapped down. So, like, hey, look, you built a bunch of fleets, but these fleets aren't doing anything. And, like, man, this glorious stab where I got 2 dots are now tied down, and I'm going to, like, lose one of them pretty soon. And I just hate myself.
And Salt's now pieced out with Lydia, so they can...
Oh, yeah, right, of course. Because that's a Salt classic, right? Get your ally to stab someone with you, quote-unquote, and then once they stab them, you back out. That's a classic time-tested maneuver.
Something Salt always does, yes.
Yeah. Because, look, if he's not getting the dots, because there's a front over here that's going to hold him down, go move back. That's just very good play in diplomacy. That's not a bad thing. We meme a lot about Salt's tactics and strategies. This is very good. You should do this most of the time if you can. Especially if the ally that you're bringing to get to attack them with you can't do anything to you. Because this pisses them off a lot. But if they can't do anything to you, it's great. Because you're not building... You've made an enemy that's now tied down and not going to attack you. You're in great shape. All right.
Okay, let's go to the next phase then.
This is retreats.
Retreats.
Yeah, there's not that many. There's like this army retreating here and something. And not only does King of Prussia not help Salt with Sego, King of Prussia docks him for Lace. Not Gaul, because my unit's in Gaul. And why would I leave Gaul? That'd be insane. But I'm a lunatic.
Man, okay, we haven't really talked about him at all recently, but massive respect to King of Prussia for playing this out. He's managed to secure that position up north, and like he looks like an actual decently performing regional now.
Absolutely. He's in great shape. He's not going to die anytime soon. He's a player on the board, and he can never win. This is a problem.
Yep. Yeah.
But here we are.
And I know...
Yeah.
Illyria actually follows through on killing Scythia for the first time.
For the first time in forever, yes. Because it's taking my core. I think that's what makes it okay. But also, Audrey, I think, was Scythian, right? He took Audrey.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But he
was attacking.
Yeah, but I walked out of Mace when that happened anyways, or Mend when that happened anyways. But yeah, so then Audrey did it, and then I agreed to get Illyria on side, and then boom. And I think Illyria was willing to do this now because Illyria saw that Akia was pushing north, and therefore felt that trying to work with me was a good idea because, hey, I need to attack... He needs me to attack Akia, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And you get into Western Sahara for free.
Get into Western Sahara for free. I prop up Tyler in Thap so he doesn't lose it. I get into Sego so I don't lose it. Anti doesn't lose anything because it's trying to bounce G-Val. Zaki's open for a build. Kant is now a core so I can build here in the future. This is just not going to be a good fight for Salt.
Yep, I can see that. And also, like, you get into Ionian?
Yep.
So Akia is just completely screwed if you decide to go north or build stuff in Greece and go north.
And I'm building a lot this phase, right? I'm at 23 at the start of this phase. I'm at 27. I'm +4 again. Because things just worked, right? Because I gained Sego, I gained Mend, I gained MYT, I didn't lose these. What else do I get?
Oh yeah, did Lydia just turn around and side with you again? What happened there?
No.
No, they just decided to play defensively.
Yeah, they played defensively and went for other stuff, right? And I let them into Sard. And then I walked out of Hera.
Oh, they probably thought that Kalk was going to support Hera, I guess, and so didn't... Oh, no, Massa isn't adjacent to Hera because Kalk is breaking the coast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so no, I think this was just defensive move still, right? Self-bouncing everywhere, trying to make my life more annoying. Oh yeah, I lost Rose to Salt here. Oh yeah, because here I was still scared. I was worried about, alright, I was defending. And so I made moves that, like, keep me safe and keep me alive. They were unnecessary, because Akia was still working with me here, and so I let Salt get Rhodes. So I got so much then. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I gained 5 and lost Rhodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. But yeah, so things feel still fantastic for me right now, right? Like, everything's great. I've got 2 armies now in Sicily, which is the magic number. I was able to get this stupid landlocked province. And, yeah, I have tons of control. I'm back in Ionian, and I don't need to attack Akia with it, but it makes stabbing me as Akia brutal. Like, we saw that convoy that Akia had. They don't have that anymore. If they take Ionian, I can retreat somewhere. It's like you're in not quite the North Sea, but kind of the North Sea, against England, right? And, like, you don't need to stab England, because if England tries to mess with you, it's really bad. This is less important than that.
I think it's like England in an EF has a fleet in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, right?
Maybe. I'm hesitant to use any of these actual standard diplomacy analogies, because you have so many fewer units in standard diplomacy. Losing one center from, like, Brest or Spain or something is way, way more significant than just losing Kef, right?
Yeah.
Like, one center here, right? Me losing Rhodes to this guess here is really not a big deal, right? I'm still +4 on the phase, right? I got 25 units, so 1 dot is super minor, so it's okay to lose to have it, whereas in standard diplomacy, if you lose Spain to England stabbing you for Spain, that's, like, a problem. Or probably Portugal would be worse, but, like, right, losing a single dot is really, really impactful. Here, it's less of a big deal, but it's still a really good spot. Fundamentally, I'm really happy to be back in Ionian. I didn't tell her I was moving here, but yeah, I remember telling her, right, because she stabbed me in the spring, excuse me. I told her, look, I'm making a bunch of defensive moves here because I don't want to do anything. I'm not attacking you, right? You'll notice I'm not trying to tap any of her stuff or take any dots from her or anything, but I'm covering. Right? Mm-hmm. And I just being defensive and covering, quote unquote, means that I'm in all of the places I want to be if we're in a war. So that's great, because I have very plausible deniability, and I'm ready to fight if needed. So that's awesome. I'm very happy about this whole thing. And then tactically, how do things work out against Scythia? Like, getting Illyria into Byzantium is good. And again, getting Illyria on side is very nice, because if I'm fighting Akia, if that happens, working with Illyria is important, right? So giving Illyria a dot to make them happy, fine, let's do it. Obviously, plus side, I don't want Scythia coordinating on Calc, so split up that coordination and keep them not doing it. I'm very happy with this move. And, like, who's going to say no to a dot, right? That's great.
Yeah, everyone loves dots. Yeah, shall we go ahead?
Yeah, let's go to the retreats. We have stuff. Do. Yep. No retreats from me again. That's cool. This army comes off the board. That's fun. And I mean, Scythia's still at 6 and has a bunch of stuff, but at least there's this hostile Colchis fleet in Azov, so that's going to be useful.
Yeah, and you've got a fleet in Central Black Sea, so there's like 3 fleets pressuring them right now. I guess 4 if you count NAES, but that one is the Colchis fleet in the Colchis supply center.
Oh, this one, sure, yeah.
But that's kind of pinned, so you've got 3 fleets against their 2. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's see the builds. Do.
Okay, well, 3 fleets against their 3, I guess.
Yeah, but the position is still nice, and I think they're going to lose some stuff. Let's see. So I put down an army in Athens, right? She puts down an army in Luke, which is both of us like, hey, these don't attack you.
Yep.
But they're armies, they're not fleets in this variant, and it's like, oh, okay, a little bit of tension, a little bit of yikes. And then Salt, this last turn, I don't know if you mentioned it, but Salt last phase, he was at 16. Now Salt is down to 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so has to take off a huge number, and he just disbands everywhere, right?
Yeah,
well,
he just has units to get rid of tons of places. Yeah. It's a tough year for Salt. And I use that to pitch Salt to say, hey, let's be friends now. Look, you attacked me, it didn't get anywhere. I recognize I don't have enough units to really break out, right? If Salt is trying to hold this, like, I can maybe get into, like, G-Val and stuff, but I'm not really going to make progress. So I'm like, hey, Salt, how about I support you into Lace? I think I agree that he could take Gaul. I don't know if I agree to that. But I'm like, look, let's just do that. You move your units away, and we can just be friends. Like, I've got my units, I got my dots. It's fine. We can be friends.
Yes, these 5 fleets behind you will definitely be your friends. Are you really gonna keep to that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I would. We'll see. It's a little tough. We'll notice I'm at 27 out of 42. I need 15 more centers to win. 15 centers is a lot, but it's not that many. And, like, obviously I'm in Western Sahara, so it makes things easier to get some of these. But the point is, he attacked me, and I, like, have doubted him a little bit, but he, like, made it a full-on war that then he's just losing pretty badly. So maybe we can de-escalate the real-out war, and, like, I'll help him take some centers. Right? Look, isn't Lace a tasty dot?
Yeah,
right?
So I get the logic on that front. Yes, he is at fault for the war. I don't think that negates the fact that if he pieces out of this war, you are just going to come in and take all this stuff.
Maybe later.
It might not be immediate, but I think it is going to happen.
That's true. Probably. But you know what's better than dying now? Dying later. Like, seriously.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if you die later, right? Like, look, I'm getting close to being a solo threat, right? I mean, I am a solo threat, right? Like, if he's alive and he's still on, like, 10 centers in his stable, and the board says, oh my god, we need to stop Ezio from soloing, he can survive. So, that's a really good reason to just stay alive. And that's why, that's a really common way to work with the board leader, honestly. Is to work with them so they don't attack you while they're big, strong, and scary, and then convince the rest of the board that you're just doing it to stay alive, which makes a lot of sense, because you often are. But then, once he gets so big that they're about to win the game, you will attack them. Everyone wants to be your friend now, because you're necessary to stop the solo threat, but also the solo threat's not attacking you. So, create a solo threat that you're then the only one who can stop. Good strategy. I support this. Especially when I'm the solo threat. But here I think it's just self-interest. It's just trying... If he tells me, no, let's fight, CaptainMeme, what do you think happens to him?
Well, yes, he has to say, that he's going to accept it one way or the other. But, like, I do think that if he actually genuinely does pull back, you are just going to walk into the Baleares and his North African centres. Yes, which you do. There you go.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I support him in delays, as agreed. And I get into Alba and GVAL, which are the defensive centers. We've been at war for a while. I kind of need to be in these positions. And I don't have 2 on any of his centers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I walk out of Western Sahara back into Taka, and I convert my brutal position on Salt into a brutal position on Tyler, where I'm getting everything from Tyler.
Yeah. That's pretty miserable position for Carthage, unfortunately.
Yeah, Carthage.
But yes.
I'm taking everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Right, that one's...
Man, you're going to go plus quite a lot from
1, 2, 3.
that.
Yeah.
Is it just 3?
It's just 3.
It's just 3.
Carthage doesn't have that many centers. They're big centers, so they look like a lot, but it's not that big. The relevant part is that I'm probably also getting Pano, and I'm probably also getting ERYX.
Yes.
So, like, that's 5 centers, bringing me up to 32. I'm losing Hera, but I was able to work with Colchis, finally, for the first time this game. We were like, hey, Scythia's been kind of annoying. How about we fuck with Scythia? And so he agrees to support me into Share.
I love Scythia trying to self-bounce good with an army.
That's a fun one. I do like that.
Yeah. That's a meme, I assume, because you absolutely do want the fleet to be out in GOD.
That's and he wants this army to hold. And so it's just funny. I think that was very clean. And yeah, Illyria's in Gaeta, so is now going to mess with ODES, and so Scythia's finally, like, actually dealing with a bunch of neighbors. So yeah, things are fine. Do I lose CAEG? Oh, yeah. So, here's the sad part about this game, and this is why I was reluctant to even review this one to begin with. The game ends here.
Oh, no. So you did mention this to me when we were talking about this, right? Because Hellenic Diplomacy, it's a really cool variant. It's a very different variant, right? And it's obviously a huge variant, so it's one you spend a lot of time playing. And Ezio had joined this game and spent a lot of time playing it, but mentioned to me the ending is somewhat disappointing, so it might not be worth covering. I was like, no, we really need to cover this, because the variant is just really cool, right?
Yeah, I love it. But the game ends here. We don't agree to a draw. Nobody agrees to throw to a solo, but the game stops getting adjudicated. The GM just gets busy with real life, as happens, and didn't get a replacement. And so, for a couple weeks on this retreat phase, there were no adjudications. And so we're sitting there in limbo. We've been talking about activity levels in this game. You'll notice that on this phase, King of Prussia NMR'd. Right. And I've been trying to gloss over the NMRs, but they've happened. People have been relatively low activity. Tyler was talking about the only people who were talking to him were his immediate neighbors, me and Salt. And most of my negotiations were with me, Akia, Salt. I was doing stuff. I was messaging almost everyone all of the time, but that's me. But like, because of how everyone was already relatively disengaged, the 2 week just sucked all of the remaining life out of it. And so a new GM came in. I think the original GM came back and offered to get things restarted if we were interested, and we all just said, "Kill it, it's done." And not all of us, one or two people who had voted against the draw, because I was trying to just get this game to end in like the natural way. Like, at least we all agree that it's just done. We don't want to play anymore. But that still didn't happen. So the GM just came in and said, "We're not going to adjudicate this anymore. It's done," which is just a shitty way for it to go.
I do think so. It's really unfortunate in that there's a lot more story to tell in this game, and I think also your solo run would have been super interesting to watch and see whether it succeeded, right?
Yeah.
But for a lot of the other players, in fact, I think for all of the other players, there's no shot at a solo anymore. It is just a case of how soon do they pivot from trying to gain SCs themselves into trying to stop you from winning the game, right?
Yeah.
The SC conditions are just really high. You can see those regionals. The best one is 9 out of 25. That's such a huge jump to get through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Akia is the only one on the board, other than me, who has a chance at a solo. But it comes at basically beating me and getting a brutal stab off on me. And yes. I am intimately aware of that. And you'll notice my position is such that I'm making that more... It's going to be increasingly difficult for her to stab me as I continue to get builds.
This was my feeling when the convoy didn't go through, right? That convoy would have been great, because even if it's not a massively effective stab, that was kind of when you had to stab in order to get the upper hand. That's not always going to be the case. In alliances like this, quite often you can win even when it looks like you can't, just by tricking the other person into relying a bit too much on that alliance, right? But you're allied with Ezio, so he is not going to let you get that stab off at this point in the game. Yeah, that's just my thinking on that. I don't think Akia can get this win here, just because their southern border in Greece is too demilitarized at this point.
Yeah, it's tough, and there's too much pressure from Illyria.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I do agree that I think... I understand why nobody else wanted to play this, and I think I would have been the main one who was interested in playing this out. But the most depressing part of this is that both Akia and I were planning on stabbing each other, like, this year. You'll notice I got into Gant and Eastern Med, and I'm just holding an Eton. So, like, I'm ready. I'm in Ionian Sea. Like, I have an army here. I think I wasn't going to stab her in this fall, because, so the big thing is we have this agreement. I'm going to give her Pano, and from SMES, because she's helped me with Sank and ENNA. So I'm like, all right, I'll give you Pano. That seems fair. And so what I was thinking about and what I'm planning on doing is, like, letting her take Pano, and then we go for a pop in it basically next spring. And next spring we go from, like, Chal into Larry or something. And maybe I could get whatever, right? But, like, basically it was going to go, and it was going to go fast. And, like, I was going to maybe build an army in Syracuse and convoy back to, like, Luke or something. But basically next year is when things were going to explode, I think. But we didn't get there. And we're not going to know how it's going to go. We don't know, like, if I'm going to be able to get enough builds from this area. Like, am I going to go push into Salt and try to crush him in the west or not? Maybe. Probably. Why wouldn't I? But if I think I'm at war with Akia, maybe I want to give Salt space and let Salt push north and do whatever. I don't know. It's a sad way for it to end, but it was a fun game, and I really enjoyed getting here. Like, despite the inactivities, and obviously that was huge, right? So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it was a really fun game to talk through as well, even if it does end here. And also, on this final turn, I finally realised why those arrows are appearing on the right-hand side over the scoreboard, because they correlate to the Iberia moves, right? The ones on the other side of the map. It's Hispania moving there. It's the wraparound that's supposed to be in the Atlantic, in the Pacific Ocean on Imperial Diplomacy.
Oh...
Anyway, sorry, that's completely irrelevant.
So funny. That's great. Hell yes.
But yeah, this has been an awesome one to look through, and it's such a dynamic game, even for such a short game. That's exactly what Hellenic Diplomacy specializes in, right? It's a super engaged experience all the way through. Well, very It's a super engaged experience in that you're constantly engaged and fighting with people on the front line, like, always. There's no point at which you can just go, yeah, this entire area is now peaceful, right?
Yeah, right. You can see how hard it was. Like, we tried to do that in this area, but demilitarizing is such a pain, and you need it. And all of these centers are so important. All of these provinces are big. Yeah, no, I love the variant. I'm happy to play it more. I'm happy to see it. And I'm happy to see more like it. The variant submission contest is finishing today. So,
yep.
I hope we're going to see other cool variants like this that are tight and intimate.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, we have like 70 submissions for that or something, so that video is going to be long.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do this.
We'll figure it out.
Some of these variants are big, man. I've cheated a little bit, and I've had a glance in there a couple times because like there's so many cool ones, and dude, there are some, man, that have way too many centers.
I do actually just want to say on that front, like, just seeing the amount of discussion that's come about that, because, like, diplomacy variants are a huge part of the hobby and have been since forever. If you look back in some of the old diplomacy written zines that people used to... The way people used to play this kind of diplomacy play-by-post would be that everyone would subscribe to a newsletter, basically, and then they'd send each other letters of, diplomatic letters, and they'd send the GM their orders at the end of it, and then the GM would take those orders and stick them in the newsletter, so he would be running, like, 20 games or something at a time, and then send out all the results of those games to everyone who was subscribed to the newsletter. But alongside that, they started putting in strategy articles and stuff like that, and then having viewer-submitted articles, I say viewer, like subscriber-submitted articles, and those, even in the very earliest ones, quite often were people creating their own variants of diplomacy. It's just one of those things that it's such a neat game to create things for, because the basic rules work on any kind of map, right? Well, I say any kind of map, you do need some kind of balance in there. But it's just awesome to see how that instinct just goes... It just comes naturally. I say comes naturally. It just comes out very, very easily when you have a challenge like this, right? And suddenly you have 70 people working on their own variants and submitting them, and a whole host of new ways to play the game. And that's just been absolutely awesome to see. I hope you feel the same way.
It's really cool. I'm so happy to see all the submissions, and I hope they're great. And I hope some of them suck, and that we can see.
Yeah, we'll be looking through them. I don't know how intimately we'll review the balance of them, because I think that would just take too long.
That's going to be insane.
But we're certainly...
That's what I'm thinking about it. Right.
Yeah, at least for this one, I want to show every single variant that we've received in that video. So it might go on for a little bit.
Yeah.
And hey, if this gets bigger, I am absolutely saying we should do this as a yearly thing. If it gets bigger next time, maybe we only showcase the best ones. But
yearly, oh man, maybe yearly is a lot, but man, yeah. Anyways, this was awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed this game of Hellenic. I hope you guys have other ones that you enjoy. And stay tuned for when we talk about a bunch of other variants that people have created.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in Hellenic Diplomacy, join the Discord link in the description. We'll link to their Discord in the description below.
Also join our Discord. Ours is cool too.
I have finally conceded to Ezio's thoughts of we need to put our Discord link in the description of every video. So this is...
Can you believe
you
that
this
guy didn't do that for a long time? And we're talking about stuff and we're advertising other people's Discords and we didn't even put ours in the description? Utterly unbelievable. I just can't even
It
with this
wasn't
guy.
always relevant.
It's our Discord. Yes, it's relevant. Anyways, see you guys next time.